the February 15th budget meeting, Howell Township, 2018. Ms. Alice, would you please read the open statement and the roll call?
Let the minutes reflect that adequate notice of the holding of this special meeting of the Howell Township Council was provided for in the following manner: by the posting of a copy of said notice upon the bulletin board in the Township Municipal Building on January 30, 2018, by the faxing of a copy of said notice to the Tri-Town News, Asbury Park Press, and Star Ledger for information and publication on January 30, 2018, by the filing of a copy of said form of notice in the Township Clerk's office on January 30, 2018. The public will be allowed to attend and will be allowed to participate pursuant to the Open Public Meetings Law. The public is reminded that civility and decorum will be maintained during the meeting. Any contracts awarded at this meeting or between now and the next meeting will be required to comply with the requirements of Public Law 1975, Chapter 127, NJAC 17:27. In accordance with the Fire Prevention Code, be advised that this facility is designed with emergency exits for your safety. Upon exiting the meeting room, they are to your left and to the right. Furthermore, smoking is not permitted in the municipal building. Please take note that this meeting is being videotaped for possible future broadcast on Howell Television. Also, no food or beverage is permitted in this room. Roll call, Mrs. O'Donnell?
Yes.
Mrs. Smith?
Present.
Mr. Walsh?
Here.
Mr. Nacastro?
Deputy Mayor is in a meeting right at the moment. He'll be out. He'll be with us shortly.
Mayor Berger?
Mayor Berger is with them in the meeting. She'll be with us shortly also. This time, I'd ask you all please stand for a pledge of allegiance and, if possible, a moment of silence for our troops and first responders serving all over the world, and for the people down in Broward County after that horrific tragedy yesterday. Please pray. Me personally, I'll be praying for them and their families, but a moment of silence. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Get into it.
Evelyn, mind giving me a call from my loan?
Of course.
Brian, who we have coming up first today to talk about the budget?
First up, we have the Senior Center for today's schedule.
What page in the big book?
In the big book, we are on J13, the big book, sorry. The long form is J13. The big book is 164. J13.
Any comments you'd like to make?
Yes, so there were two adjustments that were made that were not reflected on the long forms. The line program program costs should be reduced by $2,500. And then the following line, special events, should also be reduced by $2,500. All other lines are being recommended as published, as are both of the capital requests.
What are the capital requests?
They are requesting a van for the senior center in the amount of up to $80,000. And speaking with the director, the last one that they purchased, she was able to get significantly under budget. I want to say it was around $57,000, if I recall correctly.
Yeah, about 60,000.
It was?
Yes.
And how much are you asking for? What, did I see a line item for 80?
Update.
That's correct.
Yes. But I didn't have the final price when I did this budget of what we got the last one for. And the last one was actually like a new model, a new company. The company wasn't new, but the way they were doing, I guess, the chassis and everything, they were able to make it for significantly less money. So, yes.
So you think that's going to go down from 80 to 57, or?
I'm hoping so. The last one did. When I got the last one, I had gotten quotes of 80, but like I said, once everything was said and done, we got it for about 57,000, 60,000.
Well, these are all under public contract, and our purchasing director puts them out to bid, correct, through the state?
Yes.
Okay.
I'd like you to justify a need for another,
Well, currently, all of the bus that we had replaced, that's a spare bus because the buses do go into the shop a lot and we're down a bus. That one has over 170,000 miles on it. It's constantly plugged in because it loses power, the battery, the AC is a problem, it's had a broken radiator, the wheelchair lift on that is non-operational, the floor is rotting on the wheelchair lift of the spare bus, so we can't use that if we need wheelchair lift. The other two buses that we have, each have almost 140,000 miles. They're also in the shop. They've had brake work and things like that done more than once over the year because it's constant stop and go with those. We do 200 trips a month on those buses. They put on about 40,000 miles a year. Two of them have leaky roofs. We have rust on them because the paint is peeling. It's been repaired, but it still continues to rust. The hydraulic piston, it dried out actually on both of those in 2017. So at one point I had 3 buses with
what hydraulic?
for the wheelchair lift. So at one point last year in 17, I had 3 buses with no working wheelchair lifts. So the 2 have been, they're in working order now, but
How old are these buses?
they're 2007, and actually they're both 2007s.
So what did we buy in 2013 or 15? Were they smaller vans?
Yeah, these were all 14 passenger. So the one that we got it just got delivered in October of 17, but it was from 2016 capital.
2016.
Was a 20 passenger or 16 and 2 wheelchairs. We generally use it as a 18 passenger because there's not as much space in the back of it. So due to the amount of walkers that we need the space, we can't fit 20 people in it. We have to do 18 people, put 2 seats down so that we have room for all those walkers. But most of them are filled. That bus is generally filled, and then the 14 passengers are filled also. So it just makes sense to go to a little bit of a bigger bus.
Lou, when we buy a vehicle such as these buses, how long do we prorate them over? 6, 7 year, 8 year?
Yes, sir. It would be probably about an average of a 7-year amort.
So you're looking almost at 11 years on this, yeah. Do you think that the one additional will take care of I know that the needs of the seniors, it's expanding. We have more seniors, there's more services offered. Will the 120-passenger bus be enough for you to be able to deliver the services you'd like to deliver to the citizens?
If I get another one, you're saying?
Yes.
Yes. For now, certainly, because the 2000, the one that we use as a spare, go to auction or whatever you want to do with it, and then we would still have another, that 4th bus for either spare when one's in the shop, and we run it every week.
Yeah, I really, yeah.
Yeah,
There's a
and
lot
then we have programs that sometimes we need a 4th driver, so we call in a seasonal, and we have that availability.
Right,
So,
right. Now, I certainly see the need, in the seniors. Okay. I have no problem with another vehicle, the additional bus.
You'd like just to catch up the mayor and deputy mayor, we're on the senior services budget. There were 2 reductions in their line items, $2,500 in each of 2 lines for a total of $5,000. And then I was making the recommendation to move forward with their 2 capital requests.
63 in the big book.
We're on page J13 on the long pages and 164 in the big book.
Who's here from the seniors?
Melanie?
Who? Teasing. We don't see you anymore. Never see you.
you got to come over.
I know. You do invite, right? You do invite. We gotta get there.
Any other suggestions on that, on the seniors?
I don't have a problem with I think we have an ever-increasing senior population. We have another senior development that's in, I think they're putting a shovel in the ground pretty soon. Doesn't sound unreasonable to me. The cuts, were they enough? Are we okay with the cuts?
I believe that would be an accurate representation for what they need.
I know we've done a lot of improvements over the last couple of years at the senior building. Have they worked out okay?
Yeah, we're getting there. We're trying to, do a little at a time. So I know we got the cabinets last year approved for capital, so we're going to start working on that. And, just doing a little at a time, so it looks good.
Melanie, what kind of sign is this? Is this going to be
So-
digital so that we can advertise your events and stuff like that?
No, that would be nice, though. The sign, so we haven't had a sign since the new siding went up.
About 2 years, right?
Oh, it's a sign for the building?
It's a
or-
sign for the
Yeah.
building.
Oh, very nice.
And it's 10 foot by 4 foot. I had Marco Light come out. But unfortunately, without having the sign, there's a problem. But when we have to give directions, because if you put our address in the GPS, it takes you to the other side of Preventorium.
Yes.
And then, we pretty much say, okay, well, we're this building, the one without the sign. So anyway, I've gotten other signs put up around town, and they're pretty big, but they're just not seen. So I tell them, go by the police station and et cetera. So it would
Is
be
that big
nice.
building still there?
It better be. It better be fixed and taken care of and used.
Because it's been, what, at least 2 years, right, since you haven't had the sign?
2015.
15, yeah.
End
We're
of
going to use it as a
2015.
memorial to you and put your ashes up on the old side.
Uh-oh, back to the
You know what?
sign.
I was the last man to serve there. I thought they were going to put me on a horse. A Clydesdale has to be a little bit of a bigger horse for me.
Right.
This has been going on for years, don't worry with her and I, okay? Yeah, the outside though, we've spoken about a lot of things about, we don't know what we're gonna do yet with that whole complex up there.
Yeah, I know Jim was there yesterday taking pictures. We've had just a considerable amount of washout. I know we've discussed, and it's not, for me, it's, Jim's stuff, but that back parking lot and the driveway, so that's out of my hands, but yeah, something's got to be done. But the building itself is doing well. We had a leak over the last snowstorm, but it wasn't anything major.
A lot of people had leaks.
Exactly.
In my office building, where my office is, we had them in about 12 different spots.
Yeah, so,
All right, we good? We good?
Yep.
I'm good.
thank you.
Thank you, Melanie.
Thanks.
Thanks.
We did tell her we were okay with the van.
Yes, I heard you.
Yes.
And the sign, right?
And the sign, yep.
I heard you.
Thank you.
Next, we have the sewer utility, which would be J19 on the long pages, and starting on page 203 in the big book.
I don't have 19.
You know what? My last page is 18.
Yeah, mine too.
Is it? It would be
Okay.
18 then, mine printed differently.
Hello, Mr. Nunziato.
Yeah, my last
Hello.
page.
You've been hiding, haven't you?
No, just like Melanie, we're still there.
Yeah, who are you? Who are you?
What number in the big book?
If I may, in this packet
203.
Big
that
book,
you
I studied that
received,
for a few years.
there is a fresh copy of the sewer budget sheet in with this
What
packet that
page?
you received.
I don't have that.
He also gave new sheets.
It's not, I don't have no J19, I
I
have
don't have the
J18.
new
J,
sheets.
J18, mine printed differently.
I don't have the new sheets,
It should be there.
I have an 18.
unless he
Check in your
took them.
package, check over there, look, underneath your book.
Hold on.
No. No,
Is this the sewer come over from 17 to
I
18?
think Mr. Walsh confiscated it.
You probably did.
Do you have an
Can't
extra
find
copy?
his, and he's got,
Do I? Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. I think Mr. Walsh took it.
I got nothing.
He did, right? He's got
He
two
did,
copies.
right? Well, give one back to Lou then.
Okay, it comes from 17 to 18. We don't have no 19 in ours.
Sorry.
You're not sorry.
Sorry, that's sorry.
Pauline, it's you and I talk, Pauline.
I could make a comment, but I won't, since I got you last time.
Well done.
It's all right.
So salary and wages went down, right?
Yes.
And then,
I asked a question that I needed answered last meeting on how much we've paid of the initial upfront monies for the consulting and all the preliminary work for the sewers in Freewood Acres, and how much we're expecting to pay to those consultants this year.
We are, roughly $801,000 in design costs
That we
That-
already paid.
that we already paid. That included 40, or 39,000 that went to our consultant for the design of the water mains. Remember, we added the water mains to the
Yes.
project? So that's part of it. The original contract was $731,500. Then we had a couple additional items when we went to do the EIT funding, so there was some additional work related to that, when we switched and said we could probably get better funding if we went to EIT. So we did. So right now, we're just over 801.
All right, so we were at 780. So we were at 731 plus the 49 for the additional add-on. So right off the bat, we were at 780, and we're at 801 right now, so we're 21,000 over budget.
No, everything that we're paid to date was from actual proposals. So it was 39,000 for the water main design.
39.
There was, I think, 18,000 for the initial back in 2014 when we first started scoping the project.
Okay.
There was another, 16,000 maybe for the EIT, all the EIT work related to it. So those are actual costs right on budget so far.
And they were paid out of cash flow from the sewer utility already.
Yes, sir. Funded from
Okay.
capital reserves. We did not have to borrow or amortize that cost. That was funded right from capital reserves.
We paid it, and how much surplus did we end up with last year? How much additional revenue did we get over expenses last year after we paid these monies?
Well, we finished our surplus for 2017 in the sewer utility, finished a little over $2.3 million.
What did we have in 2016? What did we have walking in the door?
Bear with me a moment. $2,928,000.
2.9 to 2.3.
Yes, sir.
How much did we lower the tax bills last year?
Do you mean the
The quarterly
sewer?
tax, how much did we lower last year?
20, 25, something like
I
that?
thought it was 30 per quarter.
It was reduced $80 on
So
the
it's
annual
$20
cost, so
a
it was
quarter.
$20 a
It
quarter.
only took effect the last 2 quarters, correct?
The reduction was reflected to reflect the entire $80. It was reduced $40 on the last 2 quarters.
Okay.
So it was an $80 decrease for the full year.
So now we're at $144 a quarter,
Yes,
correct
sir.
answer?
That is a correct answer.
Okay, and that's over the year, 144 a quarter.
$576 for the
190
year.
I think we were at 195 about in 2012.
That's-
I think that was the number, 195 or 198. So we've knocked that down to 144 a quarter. All right, but we're 600,000 less in surplus coming into this year than we were last year.
Yes, sir.
But we understand we paid all of these costs up front. What are we expecting this year as far as consulting fees or fees away from the actual project? Are we expecting a few $100,000 more in fees this year, or are we really done?
For the actual Freewood Acres project or
No, not,
anything
the
else?
project's gonna be 13 million, we know that.
Right,
Isn't it
so,
about 13 million all in?
correct. So, Bill has, I think it's two separate projects you're working on right now?
Yes.
Bill, if you could elaborate on those a little bit with your consultant?
We
Fees.
have two pump stations, two of our older stations. And they're requiring about $500,000 total in rehabilitation work. And it's everything from new pumps, new rails, new inside lining of the stations, control panels, pumps, electrical wiring, the whole thing from pretty much soup to nuts, 25, 30-year-old stations. 500,000, 506 actually is the total, and we approved 125,000 last year. So we're looking at about 380 this year, 381.
That's
in
the
capital.
Woodburn and Thousand Oaks
Correct.
rehabilitation.
Yes.
Okay.
And that's in your capital,
Right,
so that's for phase two,
yes.
basically.
But we didn't have enough to either do Thousand Oaks or
Right,
the other one on their own.
right,
And that's okay in capital.
yeah.
All right,
So basically, your ONE is down, right? Your salaries are down, and then we just got to do capital. Brian, did you make any recommendations?
Yes. Sorry, let me get back to that page. There was a truck with a snowplow that I was recommending to remove.
Okay.
don't we have snow plows with our DPW? I'm just asking.
Yes.
So it's a SCADA system, which I am assuming is an alarm system? I'm not-
Yeah, it's a remote monitoring for our stations. As we've just gotten the Equester station, that's actually a newer, more modern station. We'd like to bring that one in Route 9. Those are probably our technically most advanced stations, get them in first and then get each one as we go.
And then a generator replacement.
The generator, last year, we discussed a service contract with a vendor, and we actually did that this year. We did one generator that was really bad. It cost a couple $1,000s to rehabilitate it. I mean, everything from, pretty much soup to nuts there as well, too. New radiator, hoses, belts, fuel lines, block heaters, fluids, coolant, and then a big load test, and it's a couple $1,000s. So we'd like to do the rest of them this year to rebuild them, and we'd like to replace two of them as well. One of them is the Ardena station, which is in the middle of the woods, and the second one is on Roberta Drive, which is kind of a little fenced-in area, if you will, between the curb and the sidewalk, and we actually don't have a generator there. We have a trailer mount that we drive to it, and hopefully nobody hits it with the snow blower and severs the cord, which kind of happens every year. And other than that, I know our manager has indicated he has recommended we do take out a truck. We increased our staffing level last year, 2 years ago. We got the approval to have 2 additional bodies. So my guys right now are running 2 per truck. With the staffing level we have and our increased work, we do our grease trap inspections, we do meter readings, markouts, well rounds. And running 2 guys per truck, I don't have enough vehicles. So we did have, last year in 2017, as part of even in connection fees with our commercial connection fees, residential connection fees, we did generate over 6 figures in connection fees, which probably also goes into the surplus. So just from a budgetary standpoint, that is a source we hopefully could use to fund that if that would be something to consider. And again, I apologize, I don't want to go against your recommendation, but
Sorry.
it's difficult, even in the summertime, if I would like to get interns to do some of my GPS field work, we had no vehicles to have these guys drive around in over the summer. And it's
So Paul, I'm sorry. Paul is going to be here from DPW. We're going to be talking about some vehicles coming offline with the police department. Is a possibility that we move a vehicle over to the sewer from our fleet that's in existence?
Well, if I could add more to that, you had indicated, Public Works plows, yes, they have the big plows.
No, I
They put up-
didn't. He did. I brought that up.
Okay, the main roads. My guys do at the end of the cul-de-sacs to get the driveways, into the woods or between the houses. It's a little bit of different game. And all my sewer trucks, one of them has a lift gate, for some of the manhole covers or the heavy pumps, and they're all, tools and et cetera in them. So it's not like, I don't know that we could actually trade with Public Works because we're a totally different entity. So that,
Do we have the extra money coming in revenue into the sewer utility to pay for this, Lou? Are we gonna have a surplus? Are we gonna have additional revenue over the expenses this year?
Projecting, I would say probably not.
There's your CFO's answer.
okay. I will just hopefully get by with, for another year. I do have,
But it would be helpful to get another vehicle from another source.
anything that would drive at this point, yes, because again, if I could send somebody in a vehicle to do a mark out, they don't need to have winches or anything like that, but
Well,
yes.
and especially with this, they could be equipped with a snowplow, is that what you're saying? You need something with a snowplow?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
Okay.
Now, there are still capital reserve funds that we do have within the sewer capital fund. If it was the council's blessing to purchase the vehicle using those, that would be, I'm just putting it out there, that exists there as well. But
How much is the capital fund in the sewer utility?
sewer capital fund balance is $252,000.
200 and what?
$252,000.
And what else, and that just goes into the general fund if it's not used?
If it's not used, it gets canceled and plates back to where it came from.
Where did it come from? I don't understand that.
There's a money tree over in the sewer utility, Lou's not letting us in on.
No, Lou, where would
the-
where would that capital money go if it's not used for capital? Into the general fund?
No, the
Or goes back into the sewer fund?
sewer capital fund balance stays within the sewer capital fund.
So it's always money that we could use if we wanted to reduce sewer rates or something like that?
You could, yes, you could. I mean, it's.
We could take it and give it back to all the taxpayers, but it wouldn't go back to the people that paid it.
No, right.
It would go back to everybody. It wouldn't go back to the people who just paid into sewer, into the sewer.
If you did it from reducing from the sewer,
It doesn't make it, if you give it back, you'd have to give it back into the general fund, it would go to everyone. It wouldn't go to the people who paid.
well, that's what I asked. So it goes into the general fund.
It goes back into the sewer utility.
Goes back to the
Okay,
utility.
for the sewer utility. Anything that would be for general capital can go back into the regular general taxes. Sewer utility is for the ratepayers of the utility only, so that sewer capital surplus is the fund balance of the utility capital fund specific to the sewer utility.
Is there any advantage in maintaining that amount of money in that fund?
Change orders for our projects that are coming up. We have to be careful with three projects, we never know what we're gonna hit when we start digging. So while
That's
it's
what that
prudent to
would
give as much back as you can, at this point in time, you're gonna have some major projects coming up that, it would be
Yeah,
nice
I'm
to
not
have.
suggesting that now.
No, I wasn't suggesting that, I was thinking about utilizing it for a vehicle or two for them.
Yeah.
That would just be, we would know at that, from 250, if you took 50 out for, I don't know how much the vehicles would be.
Yeah, I'm not for giving it back right at this moment because of what we have coming
Right.
down the pike. But if having another truck brings more efficiency and helps bring in more revenue, it kind of offsets if having that other truck. But would another vehicle just be sufficient? Or would it have to be this truck? I think that's what Councilwoman asked before.
Well, under state contract, the truck is in the low 30s right now. Well, probably new contract is on board. I did this back in September, so it's probably the new model year. But that being said, it's $30-some-odd thousand.
35 if you. take it
Okay,
down
so
to
we
regular.
can pay this out of the sewer utility capital, and it costs us about $5,000 to $6,000 a year. out of the capital trust. Is that correct, Lou?
We would be paying for it cash out of the sewer utility.
We would pay it on cash.
We would pay it out in
We
cash.
wouldn't be able to finance it through the
We
sewer utility.
we wouldn't have to finance it. We would be paying it with basically cash from our capital fund balance.
And
With
is there any,
funds on hand.
Are there any revenues that would come in to offset or increase that fund, the capital fund?
Not that I can think of at the moment.
So that would be the only amount we'd have in reserve for those three projects?
Correct. I mean, the only thing that could potentially increase the fund balance is any old projects that may have been completed where they were financed, and then that money would go back into the capital fund balance.
So then, to me, the next question would be, we consider that it would be worthwhile to take $35,000 and leave $215,000 in that fund.
That's correct.
So that's what we have to, that's the question now on the table. What does everybody think?
But he could also survive with taking a vehicle from another department.
Only for the intern, wouldn't satisfy the other need.
What other need, the plow?
No, I was going
Do all your vehicles have plows now?
No, it's not a plow.
No, I know, I'm just
it's-
asking the
Yeah, well, the one that we're requesting would have, yes, would have a plow.
But the
Correct.
ones that do you have any current trucks that you could put a plow on?
But right now, everything is equipped with a plow.
Okay.
So it wouldn't fill all the needs just by,
And it is a 2011 with 78,000, another 2011 with
Brand new
97,000.
car, as far as I'm concerned, a 2011 with 78,000
And a 12 with 120 something. You're right, I mean, but they are used every day.
as long as they're goers and keep going.
That's what we have Frank for.
We have a new welder coming.
I heard you the other day, thank you.
Listen, what's the rest of the governing body want here? I don't know. I'm either or.
Listen, the manager made a recommendation that doesn't sound critical. I don't want to,
What do you think, Brian?
I feel we could repurpose one of the other vehicles, whether it's the police department coming offline or any of the other
Slap the
vehicles.
gavel.
Okay. For now,
Okay,
sorry, Bill, that'll have to do.
Did a good job, though. That was a nice sales pitch.
thank you. And you know what? We after all this, that effort, we actually are working on the new jet truck, so you know what? Good things come when you wait.
Yeah, see, we do.
you took ownership of that, right?
No, we're still working on it. We're close.
Okay.
Right,
Oh, you got
like
the
a
camera, there was a
$300,000?
camera truck, right?
Correct, yes.
That's what I saw out there.
Is that like a $300,000 jet truck?
Keep going.
Yeah. No, you told us there was 300,000. If I keep going, we may get into things you don't want to get into.
Okay.
Okay, next up, we have
300
community
plus.
development.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You waited a
Thank
long
you.
time for it, though.
Yeah, he did. But, you know, Councilwoman, I like the efficiencies that come along with that truck.
Yep.
In the long run. It really does make a big difference.
Definitely.
Gentlemen, what pages are we on?
Can't get back no money from the sewer utility this year.
No?
You know what? With the project
I
starting,
didn't think we would.
with the project starting, I
Right.
don't think it's prudent right at the moment.
You're right. For once, we agree. That's what I assumed.
Mr. Herman is going to start on the Code Enforcement Department, and in the big books, that is page 56.
We agreed in '06.
Yeah, we sure did.
56. In the book. I gotta get it from the over.
And in the long sheets, Lou?
Working on it. It's J7.
Thank you.
Okay, so tonight we have Matt Howard, our Director of Land Use, and Paul Orlando, our construction official, with us to supplement and ask any questions. So if you look at the binders that I provided to you, there should be a PowerPoint presentation that you can follow along with, and we'll go through this rather quickly. So, let's see here. Yes, that. Yep. Got it all? Ready to go? Okay.
Yep.
So just to give you an overall of the department, I actually take the entire department, all the cost centers, I have 5 cost centers, and I put them into one just for the purposes of this presentation, so you can see an overall view of our department. On page 2, I give you an overall number of employees in my department. There's 25 full-timers. We do have some seasonal help too right now, and we should have more in the summer, hopefully with interns and things like that. On to salary and wages. So the 5 cost centers are code enforcement, construction, engineering, planning and land use, and the zoning board. I would love to combine them, but they are statutorily separated that way. So we're going to leave them like that. If you look at the code enforcement department on page 5 of that presentation, I give you a quick snapshot of the 2017 budget versus the 2018 proposed. You'll see the change. It's up almost $12,000. Our expenses are down $2,200. And below that are some reasons why. Most of it is contractual raises. We have 4 employees that are going to get step increases this year. We're proposing 1 upgrade for one of our outstanding employees. We have some reductions in uniforms. We don't need to buy, 6 sets of uniforms for a new guy every year, so we already have that done. Decrease in books and publications, same thing. You don't need to buy a brand new book every year, so we're getting rid of that. We also had 3 employees complete the planning and zoning course, which is about an $1,800 course per employee, so we don't need to do that anymore. And overall, our code enforcement department is operating very well right now. We've done tremendous amounts of inspections and received a lot of compliance this year. So if you flip to page 6, just some general summaries. There's really 4 inspectors that we have, and that shows you kind of just the splits of what they actually do. There's really 2 on full-time on code enforcement and land use, and then there's 1 that spends 3/4 of his time on housing, and another that spends 3/4 of his time on code and land use, and the other on OEM. So you'll see what they're doing. Those 4 inspectors performed over 6,000 inspections this year. We processed over 2,600 applications, issued 2,000 violations and 482 actual tickets were written. So far, or for 2017, we collected over $300,000 in fines and applications, which is a new high for us.
What did you project for that number to be coming into the budget in 2017?
Lou, do you remember?
Code enforcement fees, we anticipated in the 2017 budget at $120,000. 20,000.
So your 180,000 came in more in revenue than what you expected in that line item. 2018, what are you projected as the revenue on that line item?
We don't typically project that one. However, I don't see any reason why it would go down. I would anticipate it go up as we continue improving our efficiency and our ability to monitor the town very well. We're doing it now using iPads. We're writing tickets right there on the spot. It's all that technology stuff we've been talking about for the last few years is now all working. So you can see over the last few years, we've really kind of increased our numbers. I would anticipate, without anticipating, a safe number would probably be in the $250,000 to $300,000 range. But once again, if we have a lot of compliance,
3 out of 4 of these are also applications. So if there's less landlords this year, people are giving up rentals, we'll receive less landlord registrations, same thing with rental certificates. So a little bit of it depends on the economy or what's going on in the town. But
Sure.
based on those, we've had a steady increase in abandoned property registry, landlord registrations, and rental certificates for the last few years. So we hope they would continue. As far as violations, it depends on compliance, but we would expect it to continue to increase. We have a couple big cases coming up this year and taking on tougher cases too.
Well, just a big jump, 120,000 projected revenue to 300 is over 150% on top of the projected revenues. That's a big number. So, and believe me, we hear some of those complaints. All right?
Oh, so do we.
Yeah, we hear
Yeah,
some of
so do
those
we.
complaints about code enforcement.
And they're all valid
Oh, you know, people want to see codes enforced
on everybody else
on
but them.
everybody else. It's okay.
Quick to rat somebody else out.
Okay, so if you flip to the next page, let's see here, will be the construction department. So once again, gives you an overall summary. We're proposing a $31,000 increase in our salaries this year, of which there's contractual raises that take up at least $18,000 of that. We have some step increases for employees as well. Our expenses are down $1,300 plus. We try to maintain our numbers going down every year for all of our expenses. Overall, we had 2 upgrades proposed. We really only need 1, as 1 was a retirement and a replacement, so we got rid of the 1. The manager has cut $1,000 in training and $1,000 from our furniture equipment line item. We've reduced some vehicle washing numbers based on what we actually are doing. And we had an administrative assistant that was cut by the manager, which, you know, we understand. And overall, we performed over 14,500 inspections and issued over 6,100 building permits for the year. So just to give you an idea of what we're doing in that department.
Just a question for you, Brian. You cut an administrative assistant, but if they're doing more volume and it's more efficient and bringing in more revenue, would an administrative assistant help to increase that? I mean, we had the same discussion with the fire bureau. Go from a part-timer to a full-timer will not only add efficiency, but will probably increase revenue.
But didn't he get an administrative assistant last year?
I
thought
did.
that was-
That's correct.
Okay.
I got one last year that is being used mostly by code enforcement because of all that. That's another benefit. I mean, that's a direct benefit you see in code enforcement. Now the guys that are issuing the tickets in the field, when they come back, they basically hand off the paperwork and the administrative assistant does all the background and they go back out and issue more tickets and do more inspections. So it's a direct correlation you can see in our numbers that, you know, we had no administrative help for that department before, and the guys had to write their own letters, scan their own documents, stuff their own envelopes, send out the mail. I mean, it's, you know, you're thinking about running it like a business instead of government. And that's what we're doing. That's what we're trying to do anyway.
Sometimes, even in my business, like I have a full-time young lady who does a lot of advertising for us. But I'll guarantee you that full-time advertising woman brings us in 5 to 7 times the amount she costs me. You know, she's very efficient, gets the name out there, gets things done that my salespeople don't have the time to do. And if they don't do it as well, they don't do it as quick, and they're not out selling. So that's the only reason I asked.
I mean, we have four administrative assistants right now that are basically dedicated to the building department. They do receive all the other permits, but at this point, I don't know that adding another administrative assistant for the building department would be a huge benefit and a huge increase in efficiency. It would take some load off the construction official, because the construction official winds up preparing all the certificates of occupancy and certificates of acceptance, which are required at the end of the project when everyone passes their final inspections. And that's a lot of paperwork. I mean, it's scanning every document that you have associated with it, saving it to the file so we can find it when we get to 200 Oprahs a month. You know, it's those type of items. It goes back to the IT storage, right? The reason we're monumentally increasing our IT storage capacity on our servers is because everything is being scanned and saved properly in a block and lot fashion. And now when we need to go back, when someone calls an Oprah's, when someone needs more help, we go back and look at the file, and within 2 minutes we have the document. We don't longer have to go in the back, look for it for 15 minutes, come out, start making copies. It's already done.
We'll go over to the rec building?
I don't want to go over there.
Okay.
All right, let's move on to engineering. Keep going through. So engineering is on page 8 of our presentation book, and you'll see our general increase is $11,000. Those are essentially contractual raises and step increase. So there's really nothing we can do with that number. The expenses are down, actually, I'm sorry, the expenses are up 10,000 this year. And for minor things, we had a $120,000 escrow adjustment, which for potentially Mayor Berger and Councilwoman O'Donnell. So you're aware, we have internal staff that review projects, site plans, subdivisions, things of that nature. After they pass the planning or zoning board, after they pass their resolution compliance stage, they come into our office for final reviews. They make sure the deeds are done right, they make sure their maps are filed properly, all that stuff. So we anticipate $120,000 of billing against those escrow accounts for those employees to do that work, okay? So that offsets our total overall costs. So if our salaries are shown in 2018 as $299,000, call it 300, it's really probably 300 or 420, let's say, but we're cutting 120 off of that because we know we're going to bill escrows for it. Now, the number's a little higher that we actually collect, but I think, Lou, you had informed me the other day that we haven't collected on some of them for the bills so far.
I helped with that.
So that caused a little bit of a problem because I tried to get to a real number and how much escrow we actually use. And that kind of hurt us a little bit because Lou had to transfer some money to cover salaries this year. So normally in years past, you know, we've anticipated like $40,000, $80,000, and then we wind up generating 160 or 150, and that's not really that realistic. So I tried to bring the number up to get our budget numbers down, and Lou informed me the other day that that didn't really work out so well. No? No. So while I'm proposing 120, that number might go down to say 100 as anticipated, and then once we collect it, it'll come back in and it'll be reserved for unanticipated revenue.
Jim, you put in here that a minor increase for seasonals. What happens if the governor gets his way and raises minimum wage? Do we go, is that going to affect the municipalities?
Well, I'm proposing $14 an hour for the seasonals. So if it's an extra $1 an hour at $15 an hour, that's not a huge difference in my book. The problem is, you know, we've had some seasonal help start at $10 an hour, and what we're finding is that who we get for $10 an hour is probably not always the best worker. We have a couple that we're paying $13 an hour. And, you know, would it be better to pay a little higher? We did have one very good seasonal that we've increased even more just because she's worth every penny and more. So we're trying to maintain and retain the people that do the best job for us. So, and we've gotten rid of a lot too. We've had a lot of changeover in the seasonal department. You know, you don't always get the best stock, let's say, sometimes. And that's okay, but, you know, they help us when they're here. But if we go to 15 an hour from the governor's office, I'm pretty sure we could probably absorb that.
All right, just curious.
Yep. So there are, let's see, the manager had cut $38,000 in expenses from a couple different line items, and that's okay with us. There's no personnel requests reflected in my numbers that you see. Okay, so the 288 in 2017 versus 299 in 2018 doesn't reflect any new hires. I just want to touch base on the deputy director position that I know has come up numerous times in the past. You know, one thing when we hired Matt Howard here last year, you know, he's one of those good young guys that can really come in and think outside the box and help improve efficiencies. Matt has done a tremendous amount of work this year in improving our department, improving how the operations work. And if I had a deputy director, I think that would only take us to the next level of doing that. I mean, there's really so much to do in this department. It's kind of unbelievable sometimes. You know, you guys had asked me last week about a striping plan for the town. Well, there's been, you know, 20 township engineers before me and traffic people and all that stuff. It's never been done. Okay, so now we're going to do it, right? But if we can put together a plan and have a 5-year, 10-year plan moving forward, that's something we can now rely on forever, right? I don't always have all the time in the world to do all that stuff, okay? There's no other engineer, professional engineer in our office. So if I was able to get a deputy director that would be a professional engineer, we could reduce some of our operating costs. Well, we would increase our operating costs. We would reduce some of our capital expenditures, okay? because we could design some more of the projects in-house. Most of the projects that I put out to bid, I can design in-house, okay, if I had the time and the ability to do them. There's still some that would definitely go out to the consultants, there's no doubt about it. But, you know, could I take a $60,000 or $70,000 design contract for a mill and overlay project and do it myself? Absolutely, if I had time.
Would the
I just
deputy
don't.
director be an engineer?
I would, yes.
And what would that number run us about?
I'd have a $120,000 salary.
So what does the deputy make?
No, I'm saying that's what I would put it at,
Oh, that's what you play, I'm sorry.
yes. And I think
Your salary was on.
no,
You
mine's
put it in
just a
for
little bit north of that, but not much.
No, I know, okay.
Not as much as a patrolman. Sorry.
So 120,000 you put in.
I had to. Is Andy here? Where is he? No, he's not here. I'm still not up to the patrolman
Hold
level.
on. I'm against what you just said. I just want to go on the record.
I'm sure I'll get a text in a little bit from that one.
So approximately 120 for a deputy, and most of that would be offset by in-house savings from going out to professionals, right?
Correct.
Is that what I'm understanding?
Correct.
I just want to understand.
I've been for this because I believe some of the things we keep in-house, a lot of other things we can get done in-house that we're not doing. And we've always talked about a succession plan and many different things.
That's true, but do we need a deputy director? Couldn't we just do a good engineer that would be capable of doing?
What would be a title, right?
Yeah, it'd be a title and it'd be a higher salary.
A good engineer in this economy, which is a good economy, it's going to be the same number. I mean,
That's really what I'm looking for.
yeah. You're going to get a good
You
engineer.
might want to
in this
call it
economy.
deputy director so they can help with the personnel that I have to deal with on a weekly basis, right? But it's essentially another good engineer that I can give stuff to and say here and not have to explain it.
Well, I've been for a more adequate, let's say, engineering department like we used to have with the numbers up and the professional, or what people are equal to, up to doing. We proved in 1993 that it's a lot more economical than all the consulting engineers or consultants across the board in those departments. So if we can build that department up again, aside or in addition to being part of your conglomeration of community development, but as an engineering department within it, I'm in favor of it. It just seems like an awful lot of money to me to start with.
Back before I started, in I think 2009, we had 10 people in the engineering department. We had multiple inspectors, we had a township engineer. Right now, we essentially have 3. So we've gone down, 2 of them are the same, that have been there since the mid-'80s.
I know.
We hired one young gentleman out of DPW last year who has been a tremendous help. So we're really up to 3, and then me. And whatever I can take my time to do, whatever I need to do for engineering, just to keep everything moving. So we're drastically down from where we
We
were
haven't
before I
replaced,
started.
And that really hasn't, when it started, it didn't come before us, we never said that people that we lost through attrition shouldn't be replaced. We put a freeze on new hires. That does not include somebody retiring or changing jobs. So,
I'll take some responsibility for that, and I'm okay with it. We're in the middle of a recession. People worried about putting a roof over their children's head.
well, you don't have to justify it.
No, I'm
You know,
okay, I'm
it's
okay
fine.
with it. I didn't
I
mind.
have one question.
Shoot.
I'm sorry.
Go
Mr.
ahead.
Walsh. Could you just, off the top of your head, quantify how much money you would have saved in 2017 by not going out without external consultants?
Not off the top of my head, I'd have to review it all. Can't put me on the spot like that.
Come on.
Come
3
on.
jobs. If you could cite me
You
3
can't,
jobs.
But common sense tells me from my observation over the last years and years, that if it's paid attention to, it can be offset by,
I'm aware. I just wanted to know if he had any numbers in his head, that's
he
all.
doesn't.
Well, certainly
I'll
the
throw out
outside.
rough numbers,
Yeah,
because I followed, and
Yeah.
I've been for this for about 4 years
over
now.
300, I bet.
Out of say 500,000 to 600,000 that was shipped out of town in some different areas, maybe we could have kept 200, 250 of it inside, which would have more than covered the cost of that deputy director. At the same time, had that person in-house to do other things that weren't being done.
There's an
Well, in 2006, I went to an in-house attorney, in 2006. And believe me, I heard from everybody, you can't do it, it's never gonna work, okay? Now, a lot of stuff was still going to outside attorneys when we were paying our consulting attorney $450,000 a year. So we went down to $130,000 a year, still had those outside attorneys. But not only was she doing a lot of stuff that the consultant attorney was for $450, and this was 20 years ago, the consultant attorney was $450. Okay? So we went down to
More now.
$130, plus not just that, she was overseeing all the other contracts that went out to the labor attorneys, to the tax appeal attorneys. She was overseeing all them too. So no matter what anybody tells me, it's one of the brightest things I've done or been part of in my 13 years up here. Okay, and people said it would never work, it's not possible.
I'm not arguing
No,
for
but
the position, I'm just asking.
But that's just an example to me of the same thing here.
But it
I-
isn't, it's totally different, you're right, but there's more to it than that, it's different. It's a whole department, it's an attitude. When they feel that they're pressured, if they're down to 3 from 10, okay? You don't have, just the overall attitude and support of each other. Do you know what I'm trying to say? Well, you need to build up the department.
No, man,
But that's-
see,
that's
I've been
the-
for this for 3-4 years.
So,
I
okay.
thought we could have saved money for the
Okay,
taxpayer
we're gonna do it.
and got more money
Okay.
and saved money
Next
and
job,
got more done.
we'll look into
I've been
it.
for it for 3-4 years.
We're all
And that
for it.
was my analogy, the same thing when we went to an in-house attorney. Okay? That's all, the same analogy to me.
Okay.
So,
Continue?
I would say
Please.
yes, definitely,
All right.
but just concentrate on offsetting the salary with, I've been concerned, I talked to you about that, Brian, I've been concerned with
Yep.
not only the amount of money that we spend on consulting professionals, but the fact that in-house it's ours, but with the consulting whatever professionals, it's a job, there's no responsibility or loyalty that there is when it's part of a unit. That's what I'm trying to say, I think. Okay?
Okay, moving on. Planning and land use, page 9 on our presentation. So you'll see here, we're down about 15,000 in salaries, 5,000 down in expenses. Main reason is we had our part-time land use officer that came in when we were in a bind. She has now retired again. Matt has taken over fully, so that was a good transition process. We have some miscellaneous reductions just in expenses. But like I said earlier, the overall efficiency of the department has drastically improved. Next page is the zoning board. We're up 9,000 there. It's contractual raise and step increase. We increased some overtime amounts based on what we're actually spending, based on all the meetings she has to go to. Right now, we have one employee that does the work of 3 previous employees, and she does it very well. So we are asking for an upgrade for that employee, and the manager has cut about 7,000 out of different line items in legal and furniture, so.
how did that compare to last year's legal?
Last year's legal, we didn't spend much in, directly in those line items, because a lot of it either went to the insurance company or was handled by the manager's office.
Okay.
Okay. So the next page, page 11, you'll see is a total overall for the department. Based on the initial requests, we're up 2.36% or $44,000. And you'll notice that most of it's basically from your step increases, contractual raises. Our expenses are again down $4,400. The next page, which is page 12, this is a good sheet for you to look at overall, gives you a summary of everything, of our salaries and our expenses for the entire department. And this is just for 2017 versus 2018. If you flip to the next page, page 13, I give you a 6-year review of all of our operating expenses, okay? So you can see how our numbers have trended. You can see in 2015, we had a high for our expenses of $262,000. Now we're down to $151,000. So just to kind of give you an idea, we're trying to control our expense costs. Some of our salary costs, obviously, we can't control based on contracts, but we're really going up just a minimal amount every year. Page 14 is the total department fees collected. So here you'll see what each different cost center collected from 16 to 17, gives you a little change there. We're actually down 4% in our overall fees. Most of that, for whatever reason, we had less zoning and planning applications this year, or in 2017. That's down a little bit, so I hope that's not a sign of the recession that Mr. Walsh usually speaks about. The construction department was down a couple $100,000 there, and that's basically just due to building. For a few years there, we had really large numbers in construction because we had some big box stores come in. Big box stores generate big construction fees.
You projected even less, I believe, because we spoke about that in depth last year also.
Yeah.
So you had projected even less than that.
We were down about 1.2 is what we projected,
You projected 1.2, and we came in
1.27.
about almost
1.27.
1.3.
Yeah. So the next page, page 15, once again, is a 6-year review of all of our fees. Don't pay attention too much to 2012 or 13. Let's say our tracking wasn't always the best back then. But since we've taken over here, we're showing the full amount of the department, what each cost center generated. At the bottom, you'll see what our total intake was, what our total operating costs were. I show what's called the balance for the year. That's before you account for your benefits. Obviously, that has a cost to it. And then below that, I just show you the engineering escrows that we're giving out to consultants. That's from doing the Planning and Zoning Board inspections. So at the bottom there, you'll see we paid out $524,000. 265 was inspections and 258 was review. So the reviews are for the Planning and Zoning Board engineer. The inspections are for the once the projects are under construction. That's one of those things that we could do in-house if we had another 2 people, but we're not asking for it. This is working the way it is. It's just a point of information for you to understand. Okay? And that is the end of operating. On to capital. So on page 18, you will see we have an overall summary of our capital requests, $28,000 for code, $28,000 for construction, and $3.2 million for engineering. If you flip to the next page, I combined the construction and code enforcement. We're basically looking for 2 vehicles, budgeting $28,000 each. This is to continue our replacement program that we've come accustomed to now. It's either 1 or 2 vehicles a year. So I just show you, last year we didn't get any vehicles. We had some money still that we were acquiring the vehicles. They take forever to come in, 5-6 months most of the time. We actually lost 3 vehicles in the last year where they went down for service and never came back. Unfortunately, that's... Thanks, Frank.
I have pictures of them.
Oh, he's got...
That welder would have kept 2 of them online, right?
So we have 13 vehicles overall in the department. Of those, there are 11 of them that are used by inspectors daily, and there's 2 vehicles that we utilize as a group. So the department heads all utilize one as a group, and we have the entire engineering department, all 3 engineering people utilize 1 vehicle. The younger guy is the guy that's usually out on the field most, and then hopefully if one of the other engineers need to go out in the field, they can either take the department head vehicle, or if somebody's out sick, we use a sick vehicle. So we got lucky when we hired our OEM, one of our deputy OEM coordinators. We hired him as a code inspector when we had a person leave on us. So he actually has the vehicle from the OEM that he utilizes.
But that's not luck, Jim. That's not luck. Don't go there.
Well, had we not had that, we would have been in trouble. We wouldn't have had a vehicle. So we would have had to pull one out of the boneyard and repurpose an older vehicle just to get on the road again.
That vehicle was purchased through another town in a shared service for a specific reason, not to be used as a vehicle for another department. So
If
if you didn't have it, it'd be a problem, but it's still not the right way to run a township, in my opinion.
If we don't want him to use that on a daily basis, then we would need another vehicle.
No.
Outside of the two that you're requesting.
Potentially.
You can get yourself in trouble here.
We currently have 2 vehicles that are scheduled for replacement this year. I'm afraid that they're in the same condition as 2 out of the 3 that went away this year. So they're same model, same year, 2004 and 2006, all with close to 100,000 miles and in really poor frame condition. Not much I can do about it, but that's what I'm stuck with. Okay? Then for capital paving, I gave you a summary. I don't plan to read it all to you. This is something you can take back just to give you an overall idea. Mayor and Councilwoman O'Donnell, for your edification, we use an average of 550 lane miles of road in Howell that we're actually required to maintain. And I set up a plan to resurface them once every 30 years. That's probably 10 years longer than they should be, but we have to do what we have to do. So based on that, we're trying to maintain at least 18.3 miles of road paving each year. As you can see, 2014, 2015, we did more. 2016, we did some road reconstruction. That's aside from resurfacing, but we count those miles as well. New Jersey American had done some paving work, as you know. So right now, we're at 18.2 miles, even though we only did 2.59 miles last year. And that 2.59 was done by New Jersey American. So we didn't pave any roads in 2017, and we're still at 18.2 out of 18.3. So we're in good shape as far as our average that we need to be, okay? On the next page, we'll show...
Jim, can we go back to vehicles? You're proposing 2 vehicles. Those are Ford Explorers?
Correct.
How much is the least expensive vehicle in our fleet that we purchase?
They're probably it. They're like 25,000 and change on state contract, and then a couple bucks for, striping and whatever else we put on it, lights if we need it.
So the difference between an Explorer and an Escape, for example?
I don't think Escapes are on the state contract.
You
I think they're Tahoes and Explorers right now.
Can we verify? Because what is the OEM director driving now?
2000, I think it's a 2011 Ford Escape, I believe. 2014 Ford Escape. I don't know how that was purchased. That was before my involvement in that. Frank, do you know? Do you know how they got that? No, I don't either.
Well, it was purchased through another town,
Okay,
but can we look into that?
sure.
Maybe we could purchase 3 vehicles, and maybe they don't have to be $29,000 vehicles. That's,
Potentially. I don't know if we're going to get them for, let's say, under 20,000. I think they're still going to be in that
I don't know.
low to mid 20s. But that's what we're proposing is, they're, like I said, they're about 25,000 to purchase plus a couple bucks for striping, and then whatever we don't use goes back.
I think in 16, it was only about $1,800 difference
Yeah, I have no idea.
when I looked in 16.
What's that?
In 2016, it was about $1,800 to $2,000 difference between Explorer and Escape.
Is there ever a time that leasing vehicles for the municipality is fiscal responsible? I know some towns lease their police vehicles.
They get beat up. You can't turn them back, get them in condition.
Generally, those leases are basically just a way of the town financing it. It's a dollar buyout at the end of it.
Exactly. Yeah, lease purchase agreement.
That probably would be better for the smaller communities, would fit their needs.
Yeah. Travel
Okay.
as much.
Okay, we'll look into that. Okay? All right, so on to the paving. Like I said, we're giving you a summary here. Page 21 starts the summary about the paving. New Jersey American Water has been very active in town lately. They had originally proposed 5 major projects. However, only 1 has really moved forward at this time. So I showed that we had canceled one of the projects that they had told me they're no longer going to do. The second thing is segment 4 of their transmission main project, which is the one that's going to go through Maxim Southern Road over by Echo Lake. That's to loop the developments together. That's currently on hold due to the Green Acres diversion process that they're going through right now. If you flip to the next page, page 22, segments 3A1 and 3A2 of the transmission main project were recently completed. That's the one that was on 547 Oak Glen Road and Maxim Southern. That main is installed and in operation. The next phase, which would go up Maxim Road to Preventorium Road under 195 to Old Tavern and into DPW, that's the next phase. That's tied to that Green Acres diversion that's currently going on. If you remember, we held a hearing here, I think last summer, to talk about that. And that's for a very small piece of property behind the firing range on DPW. That was Green Acres encumbered. We have to deal with it, okay? So it's a major diversion, or they have to deal with it. We received our numbers back. We have 14 trees that have to come down in order for them to create a path to get down to the railroad tracks, so they can jack and bore underneath the railroad tracks to get the water main in. For those 14 trees, we're going to get $129,280 paid to the township that we can then utilize to plant new trees in township properties. So if we wanted to hire a landscape architect, create a planting scheme at, say, some of our parks, I would recommend we do that. We do have to spend the money within 2 years of getting it paid to us from the water company. That's part of the diversion process. We will also get $8,000 for the easement value, which it's $8,000 for a pipe that is underground that we can still use the ground on top of, so it's not a huge deal. Monmouth County, who also has a very small chunk of land down to the railroad tracks behind our property, is getting $864,000 for the tree replacement. However, they have balked at that, and they kind of want more. So they're going back and forth with the water company now, which that's their decision.
Well, if they get more per tree, make sure we're in that more per tree,
You better believe it.
okay?
Are you, what's going on here? Can you click on that so I can move it forward? There we go. Okay. All right. The next project is Project 4 for New Jersey American, Cranberry Road and Nicholas Lane over by Eagle Oaks Golf Course. They had to install a new 16-inch water main on Cranberry and Asbury. That's already installed. The next phase is to go up Nicholas to the end of the golf course there. That's due to some pipe problems they have in that development. They have very acidic soils. They're replacing a 16-inch pipe that goes up through the golf course with a new 8-inch line. As such, they're going to be resurfacing our roadway. When I awarded the curb and sidewalk contract last year, we're going to go in and fix all the ADA ramps and any concrete work that needs to be done, because there is some work that needs to be done, and then the water company will pave. I just received the soil erosion permit for that back last week, so I would anticipate that that project starts soon. And then the last project New Jersey American's doing is the Wyckoff Mills Sewer. I'm sure Mrs. Dixell will have some comments about this one when the time comes, but they are replacing a force main that is on Wyckoff Mills by the Park and Ride up there. It'll be from the Park and Ride down to the Manasquan Reservoir, and that's going to be to replace a line that had a lot of infiltration in. So we're going to get some milling and paving work done on Wyckoff Mills right in front of the villages.
Good.
Same thing, I'm going to use the curb and sidewalk contract, go up there, repair and replace the sidewalks, probably move around some crosswalks to make them a little more useful from where they are today, and then we're going to have New Jersey American pave the roads. So potentially, all said and done, there's a potential for 13.08 lane miles of road to be paved. However, realistically, based on what I think is going to happen this year, from timing-wise, I'm looking at roughly 7 lane miles that are going to get paved, because I don't think all the projects are going to get done this year. Okay?
Are you counting Freewood Acres in those miles of
I am
paved
not.
roads or no?
I am not. Nope. This is totally separate, because I don't think we're going to pave Freewood Acres this year either, even if we started today. We won't get it timing-wise, because we want to do that at the end, after the trenches settle and everything. So that'll be an 18, or a 19 project. Okay? All right, page 25. Lastly is the gas company just replaced, or installed a new 16-inch main on Burgerville Road, which helps us, because now they're going to mill and pave Burgerville Road from Fort Plains Road to the Freehold Township line. So once again, we get the benefit of that. That's just about a mile worth of roadway we get paved.
You know somebody just complaining about that recently? Just
Daily.
recently.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so on to what I'm actually proposing. Page 26, 2018 capital program, just a mill and overlay job. I have it averaged out $218,000 a lane mile, roughly just over 9 miles. I'm asking for $2 million for construction, $160,000 for design, and that would be giving us roughly 18 lane miles if everything happens the way I think it'll happen. So we're real close to our average that we need to be at still.
For my own edification, is a section of, no. Is it Cedar Drive?
Cranberry?
Wyckoff Mills?
Kiss.
Because didn't we pay that with a grant from the county DOT grant?
Wyckoff Mills? I don't know, it was before my time,
Yeah, that's
a while ago.
Peskin Road.
A lot of things were before your
Back
time,
to
kid.
West Farm.
That is true.
That's Cedar Drive, right?
Part of that grant money we're using for, down by Brown Road, we were doing down there? Where were we?
Yes,
paying?
Ford Road.
Ford Road.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
on Kissimmee.
Before that, it was either that or Wyckoff, the only two places we could use.
Yeah, that's changed now too. The areas have changed
It
again.
was only Wyckoff Mills or Ford Road, that was
Yeah.
it.
The section of Casino Drive from West Farms Road
Yep,
to,
heading towards Peskin, heading south, right?
from on West Farms Road, from West Farms Road to Peskin Road. It's just crumbles.
Correct, so we put that in. We put that in over a year ago for a CDBG grant. As you know, because of our size of our population, we get a CDBG
Right.
grant every year. The problem is, with the current administration in Washington, the CDBG grants are kind of on hold, so we don't know if we're getting money. We've spoken to the county as recently as last week. We're not sure if and when the money is going to come due. So it's in the plan, it's just, we're not sure when. And that's typical of CDBG, every year it changes.
Basically, what I'm asking is if you have some intention for it, because it's
Yes, we do, because we know what condition it's
just
in.
about most crumbly. It's certainly worse than Wyckoff Mills Road.
Can you click on it?
Well, that's in front of my house, and I'm growing quite fond of the rumble strip.
All right, let's keep going. Page 27. Here I'm proposing some parking lot improvements over at the old Tavern Road complex. And basically, Melanie kind of alluded to this before. Between the senior center and the police department, the parking lot over there is pretty horrendous. So there's a couple things. There's no proper drainage facilities, and at the lower side of the senior center, everything repeatedly washes out and creates erosion all the way down the whole run there behind the parking lot. So what I'm proposing to do is basically reconstruct and add a whole parking row for the police department over there. Because if you've been over there lately, the cars are parked all over the grass, all over, there's equipment stored all over the place. None of it's secure. So I'm requesting to reconstruct that or add to that, and also resurface the upper lot closest to the senior center sidewalk, because there are very many undulations in the pavement up there. And I'm afraid that with the population that's going to that place, when they're getting out of their cars and walking to our sidewalk, it's going to be a liability for us if somebody trips and falls.
It's been getting steadily worse.
It's been getting worse. So there's definitely some improvements over there. So what I'm looking to do is request about $350,000 plus $50,000 roughly in design costs to go over there and reconstruct that area. Now, it's not the rest of the town hall parking lot up top. It's only the first 3 parking rows closest to the senior center, which are the only ones that are really used.
Right.
And then everything on the lower end where PD and seniors come together there.
I hope you're not planning on disturbing that little grove of trees right behind the senior building.
Where's
There's a little
where's
grove of
behind the
trees.
senior building?
Excuse me?
Which one, when you say behind, where at?
Well, if you open the downstairs where the offices are.
Yep,
If you open the door.
yep.
And there's a few parking spaces there. They're right ahead of those parking spaces.
To the right,
Yes,
as you're looking towards the PD building?
yes.
They're the ones you
I
cut
don't think so.
down?
We cut the rest of them down.
Okay.
I'm afraid if you cut those down, that they were planted there to.
I think there's some memorial trees, right?
Now,
I
erosion.
don't know about memorial trees,
Yeah.
but there were some planted to try to keep it from washing down. I'm afraid that if you pave that area, it's just gonna wash more.
Well, that's what we need to do, is we need to construct an actual drainage system that's gonna work. There's drainage out there, it's a mess, and there's no erosion control where it is right now. So we would have to put some curbs in, control it, direct it to the stormwater basins that are out there, and generally overall improve the situation. So that's what I'm proposing for that area.
Jim, in the photo on page 28 in your book that you gave us,
Correct.
where are you adding blacktop?
So if you can see on the photo on the right, that's the area where everybody parks right now, which is all washed out.
Right.
That's standing, let's say, between DPW and PD, looking north towards the senior center. You can see the senior center's in the background there.
Yep.
So that's one of our main concerns, is all that washout that occurs there. And then on the left-hand side, I'm actually standing in the PD parking lot, looking south. And as you can see, that's actually a drive aisle where all the officers are parked there because there's no parking. They don't have enough parking. So that's on a Wednesday. On a Friday, when it's court day, it's unbearable over
So
there.
what's your proposal to add?
My proposal is to reconfigure the existing lot, because I think I can get some more parking out of there now, and basically add one more total row of parking on the back of the PD, between PD and DPW, along the road there. I can add one more row of parking to get all the vehicles off the grass. And then by doing that, I'm going to improve the area going up to the senior center to remove all the washouts and tighten that area up on the lower side of the senior center. Up there, they park all over the grass as well. So I want to clean those areas up, repave the top portion by the sidewalk that leads up to the upper parking lot, and leave the rest. The rest I'm not going to do. That's over by the old town hall and fire bureau building. So that's going to stay. That's the plan, anyway.
You know, when there's a court day, they're parked all over the library, every spot's
Well, it's a
filled.
mess there.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, I think there was just a general lack of parking. It also attributes to our court being one of the busiest courts in the county. That doesn't help.
Well, it didn't help when they changed the schedule so that there were only a limited, I think it's down to 2 days, isn't it? It used to be 3.
One, really.
One day?
One day,
Speak
really.
up. You
That's
got it?
why.
The prosecutor's only there one day, Fridays.
Right.
That adds to the
So-
problem.
So what does that tell you?
Well, the problem existed before that, too. Now it's even worse.
Well, the
But
court's
even
on
when there was-
Wednesday still.
I think it's Wednesday and Friday, isn't it?
Friday's when the prosecutor's there.
Yeah, court's Wednesday and Friday.
Yeah. So,
You're going
All
to
right.
keep giving tickets, you have to have a place for people to park, to go in there and take care of it.
our last capital request today, because we want to finish up here, is for Cranberry Road. I don't know if any of you have been on Cranberry Road lately. It is a horrible mess.
Yeah, it is.
We have a lot going on Cranberry Road between the water company installing their main. They're going to have to repave their section. We have Equestra that's going to have to widen out the intersection of Colts Neck and Cranberry, so they're going to be a paving section there. Equestra West has to do some paving in front of their building. And Esso Brothers Paving, who's a company right across the street there, is installing sewer, and they're going to have to pave. So my job is going to be to tidy up everything into one big package and redo, everything that's left. So the DOT grant was submitted last year. That's what I put in for. And I'm hoping that we actually do get funding this year. A little birdie told me that we might be eligible. However, it still has to get signed off by the commissioner's office. So it's looking good right now, but I can't guarantee it.
It's horrible over there.
It's pretty bad.
It is.
So that's the end of the capital requests. For your own information on Section 4 of the sheets, I just give you what we spent in consultant fees this year. That's for you to look at later. Section 5 is I normally give you a list of roads that we paved this year. Unfortunately, the list is very small, and that's it. And I left out a lot of the other info because we didn't have much. That's all I have.
I just have one question for you, because we've talked some, I've spoken with the manager some. With the paving that you want to do near the police department and the senior, is this going to fit into an overall plan, or is, this could be something that changes over the next 3 to 5 years?
What's going to change in the next 3 to 5 years? Are we going to, like, say, relocate buildings or things like that? I don't think the police department's going anywhere.
Neither do I.
And I don't think really the senior center is going anywhere. I don't think there's really facilities that are set up for them to move anywhere, so I would anticipate we're going to stay there. So these improvements are directly related to those two buildings.
Well, you know, people say I'm crazy, but I always envisioned, truthfully, when we got this building, the library being downstairs here, and parents dropping their kids off at the library, doing what they needed on Route 9, because I knew we were going to need extra space eventually, either for the PD or the seniors. So when I looked at this building, I looked at this building as it gave us options going down the road in Howell Township. It wasn't just about the moment.
Agreed.
So, I'm just wondering, look, I realize something needs to be done, but I don't want to say yes to $400,000 or $500,000 that's going to end up being changed, or money that we didn't need to spend in the long run. I don't mean that there's not a short-term need. I don't want to make it like that, but
Okay.
that would be my question, so.
But it's already a big problem now.
I understand, but if it was going to be if it's going to be
The
part of a,
people will be tripping over the,
Yeah.
it's not as if it's a,
well, would we want to move
it's
this?
maintenance for crying out loud.
Yeah, I'm really not against the library moving. And was downstairs, I think that'd be a perfect thing for the
That
town.
hasn't got anything to do with what we're talking about, though. We're talking about paving and making improvements between the senior citizen building and the police building. That's what we're talking about now, right?
Correct.
And they're not going anywhere.
They're not?
Not to put up with the conditions as they are.
No, but say if we moved up to it, say the library ended up, I'm just throwing this, listen, I don't know anything. But say if the library was downstairs and the seniors moved to the library. Would this fit into an overall scheme of things, looking a little bit into the future? I mean, we can't, and look, I'm not saying I'm against this. Don't get me wrong.
Well, then let's leave it for another time, because two things are gonna happen soon. The planning board's gonna come in here, and it's supposed to rain. I don't wanna get wet.
Supposed to rain.
Yeah, if I get wet, I suffer a lot. And I shouldn't have told you that, because you're gonna dump me in the water somewhere.
I was thinking of Laurel and Hardy and the March of the Wooden Soldiers. Oh, you watch.
Well, what is the plan for the old municipal building?
You tell me.
I could never get enough support. I wouldn't have left there to start with.
I think it needs a lot of work,
Much
don't you?
of the building, but it
Still there.
it should be
Our
saved.
building's gone, our building.
There's a lot of potential for it, and it would make a great
It would take
center.
a lot of money.
Also, it's a big chunk of our history, even though certain people who, like us, aren't really Howell natives, don't recognize the importance of the project and the lives that were saved, and so on and so forth.
That's gonna be part for you to figure out over the next couple of years, Mayor.
Okay.
I was faced with an alternative about 6, 7 years ago. I wanted to put millions upon millions of dollars into that building, or buy this, which we did for $5.3 million,
I think
with a
that was the better
$2.7 million
choice.
gift of equity back about 6, 7 years ago. The proposals we had to expand on that building and do the things that needed to be done were anywhere from $15 to $18 million.
When they're done, though, it costs a lot more than $5 million.
No, oh, it definitely did.
Oh,
We
please.
ended up putting, no, we ended up,
We end up spending money.
we could have,
The proposal for the new air conditioning wasn't supposed to be for after 5 years. That was all done right away. It had to be. Please, what, the money that we put
That
into
building's
this
still
building,
up.
and we'll continue to.
That building's still
do
up.
it.
Very nice proposal, by the way.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Gentlemen?
Next up, we're trying trying to get DPW back on?
Sure.
Does anybody else got questions? I'm good.
Sir? Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Have a good night. Sounds good.
Oh, no, 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 you're not leaving.
I don't want to pay him overtime. Come on, get him out of here.
As requested, Lou had compiled all the cost centers for Public Works into one sheet. So I think this better outlines the total cost. There was some confusion with the numbers given the other day, so I hope this provides some better clarity.
That's in this analysis, right? In the new one?
Yes.
It should be about the last, towards the back, about the last 4 or 5 pages.
Thank you.
And then, excuse me, I'm going to be combining my presentation using these sheets when I'm talking about the salaries and the operating expenses. And then for the capital projects, I have the handout that you folks have up there, because I feel that'll help clarify what I'm trying to do. So if you don't mind, I'll just jump right into it. For our salaries, we talked briefly about it last time, but we are looking to upgrade 2 equipment operators, 2 crew leaders. That will help align our road department to work on roads and storm sewers infrastructure, and then have a grounds division that can work to improve on our parks, our roadside mowing, our basins, those sorts of things. We're also looking to upgrade 3 laborers to maintainers, so we can get a little bit more out of them. And in Town Hall, we're looking at upgrading 1 laborer to maintainer. That's to align their title with what they're actually doing. We're also looking to add a salary for a mechanic welder that you mentioned a few times in the previous presentations.
And we spoke about that with the manager.
Yes.
Yes.
Presently, if we do all of these, our salaries line will increase $106,768 for a total of 3.27 increase.
And that's with the projected raises in there from the contracts?
Projected raises, step increases, everything.
That's
Yes,
all
sir.
in.
Any questions on that?
Like that if it was washed.
No, I mean, the other day the numbers just didn't match.
Yeah, and I apologize for that.
Numbers didn't match, I'm not gonna talk about numbers that don't line. I'm fine with that, what you just proposed. What with the welder instead of, what was the other option that you already removed?
Electrician was
Licensed
removed.
electrician, well, that would be a great thing to have on the staff, the potential to really hire a licensed electrician to come work for town. I don't know how successful we would be at that. We do have other ways of doing it through contract, working with a contractor. They could possibly oversee our work, because the way the laws are, we can't pull a wire without a licensed electrician. So if we have a licensed electrician kind of overseeing it on a contract with us, we can do the majority of the work, and they just come in and do the final hookups.
And you can get by with that, you believe this year with
Yes,
the
sir.
projects we have going on?
Yes, sir.
Okay. How are mechanics doing?
Oh, and I apologize, I have Brian Greenfield, he is my supervisor, he comes from Buildings and Grounds, so he's here to help me answer any questions on the capital with the Buildings and Grounds. And we have Frank Serbone, who's our head of our fleet maintenance, our chief mechanic. He'll be helping us with any vehicle questions. And Jim, since he answered questions on your vehicle, I guess we'll split the overtime for him tonight.
No problem.
Okay.
I'm all right with that.
Well, my biggest question would be with the capital.
Well, if
You're
we're
good
done
with
with
that
the
one?
salaries, we can move on to the operating expenses.
I'll go wherever you want, but let's get going somewhere.
Yes, sir. Okay, for the overall operating costs, We did add some, I want to get a little more money to do a little additional paving. We have a road paver. We're not going to be a paving crew, but we can go out and repair larger portions of failed pavement. And we'll be working with Jim on that, so we're not doing any major repairs to any roads that are in his capital improvement. We did add some money for buildings and ground supplies, because we want to do a little bit of work on this building downstairs, bring it up to look a little bit better for while we're trying to get it leased.
What kind of shape is it in?
It's rough. We're going to have to do some patching, some painting. The hallways need a little bit of patching and painting. The doors, I mean, they're beautiful doors, they're big doors, they're very expensive to replace. We might, I don't know if we're going to sand them and restain them, or if we'll wind up painting them a solid color, but we'll do something to make it look good. We're going to put a new ceiling in, make it look good.
Okay.
And where is this for? Where?
For downstairs?
Downstairs,
The
yeah.
first floor to bring in some new tenants.
One of the things I've been
Spruce it up a
trying,
bit.
Why would we take it out of our, that's in your O&E?
yeah. Just,
Why would we take it out of O&E and not out of CAM?
And not out of where?
CAM.
Who do we have?
We take the common area maintenance, it comes in as tenant revenue, and obviously we have, it then offsets the items that are budgeted in the O&E, such as supplies, utilities for the building.
That's exactly what I was referring to. It all comes out of operating,
Yeah.
but it shouldn't.
It shouldn't.
Well, but it has to now because there are no tenants, there aren't enough tenants paying CAM.
what I'm talking about is the hallway, not inside the rooms.
It still would be on the, it still should cover CAM, and maybe we need to examine how much we're getting for our CAM. Maybe those has to be increased, but that, I personally don't think that should come out of your operating expense. And even though you don't have the tenants, you're correct. I mean, you're gonna project that there are gonna be tenants. That was the whole premise of,
Well, I'm not against.
I'm not saying the work doesn't need to be done.
When tenants do come to putting it into CAM and prorating it over a period of time, that's fine. But right now, how much of the building's rented downstairs? 20% of it?
But that-
20% of the building's
that
rented
just
downstairs.
happened. That just
Well, the
happened.
whole building, that's 10% of the building. You can't stick 10%, you can't stick all the charges on tenants that are only occupying 10% of the building. That doesn't work.
When did you lose those tenants? When did you lose
November.
that tenant? So that's like 3-4 months ago. We've had this building for 5 years. So there is a CAM buildup that should have been
There
used.
should have been,
That's my point.
yeah, there should have been. There should have been money put away for deterioration to,
And they're using it all in one
Bucket.
bucket.
The
and that
CAM
makes-
is not dedicated to a separate trust or anything like that.
I understand.
Okay.
But if there's a shortfall and CAM is not being covered, then we need to look at that. If they're getting whatever the dollar amount is, we may have to look to up that, to cover the expensive, and this is something that should cover.
but you gotta stay in the realm too. I mean, how much are we paying in CAM as a municipality for taking 50% of the building? Out of operating expenses. Unless we are paying separate CAM charges out of operating expenses.
Mm-hmm.
We're-
Well, when we purchased new air conditioning, when we got generators, all those things that take care of the whole building, did we take
Right.
half of the cost of those things out against the rentals?
Well, you don't take half. You prorate it over the lifetime of the expectancy of whatever you do. Like when you do a roof, if the roof costs you $2 million, you don't stick the tenants downstairs with $1 million this year.
No.
You prorate it over 20 years, okay, and you divvy it up that way. If not, no tenant would ever move in. Why should I take your cost on an air conditioner that wasn't working? I mean,
Of course.
so, I'm not saying not to do it different, but in order to get that downstairs rented, one thing that definitely has to be done, that's why I asked how the building is. Some of it's gonna have to be upgraded now to get tenants in. When we moved into this building, we took most of the tenants from upstairs and moved them downstairs. That's what happened. So,
If somebody wants to rent a space, who pays for redoing the space if they want it changed?
The fit up, who does the fit
Who
up?
does the fit out?
That would be on them.
They would,
Okay.
yeah.
now I'm renting a new space in Eatontown right now that's being built out. And I'm not paying to build out that space. I signed a 5-year lease.
You're a good negotiator. You're a
Exactly.
good landlord.
Okay? And I am not paying to build out that space. And there was a shell 60 days ago. It was a shell. So, doesn't always work that the person coming in, you gotta give them the basics to upgrade certain things they'll be paying for. But you can't try to rent out a shell.
I've always paid for build-outs
Really?
from a shell.
Maybe you should have had me working for you.
Maybe, you might be right.
I'm moving into a new space April 1st, and I didn't pay to build it out.
I mean, this is maintenance also downstairs.
Yeah.
It's not like we're doing it just to get new tenants. We're doing it as maintenance.
I mean, we've done a lot of things trying to spruce up the entranceway here. It was just maintenance, painting the columns. We did a lot of work in the garage. It's maintenance, but it improves the overall appearance of the building, and it's going to maintain the life of the building. I mean, the good news is,
Yeah, we're not disputing that. We're just saying where it should be funded from. I don't think it should be out of your O&E.
On that.
Yep.
Yeah, there's no
We
disputing
don't think it
that.
should be in your line item, is what he's telling you.
right, come out of camp.
Okay?
The good news is we have an overall reduction of $569. And if you add the two salaries and operating expenses, we have a net increase of 2.14% for the year.
I see some big expenditures in public works. You're going from 2.66 million up to 3.1. Why?
What line is that, sir?
I'm looking at public works here, and I'm seeing that you expended, that were encumbered. Okay, we're 2.66 million in 2017, and your department request is 3.1. There's some major expenses that you have to be doing to be increasing it that much. Where is that extra money?
What page are you on?
I'm at J10. I'm in J10. I'm at the bottom half of page 10. I'm looking at encumbered expenses. We approved, mind you, $2,944,000 in 2017, but only $2,664,000 were encumbered. Okay? And now I'm looking at department requests of $3,114,000. But I'm having a hard time figuring out where you want this extra money and where you want it going to. I really am. Like I see 67 and 95, that's a 30,000 increase in road expenses. Okay? But I'm having a hard time finding out where expended to how much you're asking for is $500,000 more. You following me there?
Mr. Walsh, the manager, what is being proposed after manager cuts and some reductions for his total public works, it's, there was $2,664,000 expended in 2017. The total for his public works department that's being proposed at this point
2.9.
is $2,966,752.
It's 33,000 difference.
The 3.1 million was the initial request that was within the booklet, but has been subsequently reduced from certain positions coming out, certain reductions that the manager has reduced. And those were the figures that were used on your spreadsheets that were provided to you.
So this unencumbered balance of $264,000, is this stuff that was done, that wasn't paid for yet, or stuff that wasn't done that we had approved? Because I'm looking at an unencumbered balance in the middle of that page of $264,000.
The lion's share of the 264,000, almost 196,000 of it was unused salaries. We did have some resignations, some changeover, some part-time personnel that wasn't used, so there was a little bit more than 68,000 that was not used for other expenses. So that's where some of the unexpended money come from, most of it being salary and wages, about 75% of it.
And most of those people have been rehired and now they're in place?
We have replacements for those individuals.
Okay, so overall, our expenses in Public Works, from what we approved till now this year, is going to be about $22,000 more.
That is correct.
Okay.
Okay, if we can, move on to the capital.
Yes.
And now if you could turn to your handout I gave you after this, once again, the picture tells 1,000 words, so hopefully I can cut it down a little. Our first line item for the road department capital, and we have it broken out into road department capital and buildings and grounds. For our first one in road department, we're looking for two heavy-duty trucks. We're trying to replace 2 trucks a year to maintain a useful life on the trucks. An average useful life of the truck is 10 years. These 2 trucks will be replacing 2 trucks that are 2002. When we do get these trucks, we've added, in addition to the plow and the salt spreading capability, we do have the brine spreading capability, 1,300-gallon tanks, and they're going to be great for getting in and out of the developments. It's going to really speed up our ability to brine the town. On the next page, we're requesting a 45-foot aerial bucket truck. Previously, when we were talking about salaries, wanting to upgrade someone to maintainer, that'll be so they can be running this truck. This will be used for tree trimming and cutting. We've got a lot of trees in this town. We do have 1 bucket truck. This will augment it, so we'll have 2 tree crews. The good news is the Shade Tree Commission has looked favorably upon this. I haven't formally approached them yet with a number because I need to get council approval, but in my meetings with them, they said they would fund this.
I agree, it's desperately needed. I mean,
And the first one was funded that way, so I don't see why we wouldn't do it that way either. Out of the shade tree trust fund.
I mean,
The
boy, they
next-
just seem to grow on some of these back roads here in Howell, don't they?
Do you have enough certified tree people to cut these trees?
We have.
Like, I know you had
just received,
Schneider.
Evan Schneider just received his licensed tree care operator certificate.
So he's
And,
one, and who else would?
We have, through the consultant professionals, we have a certified tree expert on staff.
No, but who would be cutting down the trees other than Eric, other than Schneider?
Right now, we're looking at, we have one of the gentlemen who's been progressing through the ranks, Ivan Sanchez, to move up.
So he'll get certification?
It
That's in
takes
the
a
plan?
while, but yes.
I mean, do we buy the truck and it's just gonna sit there because we only have 1 employee
No.
able to do this?
No, we could send them both out, and Evan could be there with the 2 of them.
Oh, okay.
A lot of times you see more than, even on county roads, sometimes you see 2 or 3 trucks at the same place.
Like when you see.
Yeah, you just
Aspen,
need the manpower and the person, so his certification covers other people.
Yes. The next request is for a utility body truck with a plow. Our buildings and grounds foreman truck, the frame literally rusted out from underneath the truck. He brought it into service, and Frank took it out of service because of it was unsafe to drive.
We got a welder though, or the sewer utility's gonna have
You
a
still
truck.
need good metal to weld.
Sewer utility's gonna have a truck with a plow.
And this will come with a plow. And we do use plows for parking lots and park and ride. Our next priority 4 is to replace a 1983 and a 1985 open space mower. They're really past their life. These industry standard, the useful life is 15 years. And we're, Lou, correct me if I'm wrong, we can get the funding from the Basin Trust Fund for these?
That is correct.
They were very good years, 83 and 85.
Yes, they were.
Good wine back then.
We have received some new mowers, right, over the last 4 years,
We have, yes.
but we're still below what we need.
Yeah.
Yes.
And these are going to replace the two, like I said, 83 and 85.
I do got to give our mechanics some kudos there for having 83s and 85s still up and running.
What funds are they, is it coming from?
The Basin Trust Fund,
Okay,
because they are used in maintaining the basins.
got it.
They shouldn't be. The basins were, those basins, so many of them were planted with grasses and plantings that don't need to be mowed, but they mow them anyway.
They're really not, we went through this every year.
They're not supposed to be mowed.
You know what? The one in my development, they only mow on the sides.
Yeah, mine too.
That is it. In Ardena, they mow on the sides, and that's what they're really supposed to do. But we do have residents that complain when it's not road, when they're not mowed all the way. And remember in the Delphia Greens with the lawsuit over affordable housing? When the judge said that the detention basin could be a soccer field if it was mowed. That was part of the recreational component in that affordable housing lawsuit. It's right in the documents. So they do have to be mowed if they're going to be a soccer field.
Yeah, but then they wouldn't be planted with the plantings that didn't need to be mowed, you see? There's a difference.
Our next priority,
I have something else. I would have talked to you at another time, but it won't come up at another time. The berm on Vanderveer Road should not be, in my opinion, mowed with these open space mowers. They've taken down the shrubbery, half the trees. It's not open space, it's a planted buffer. Plus, I don't think it's safe anyway. It's very steep, you probably know.
Yeah, I've mowed that.
You took down those bushes?
No, never.
Twice.
I've never taken anything down on that, but I've mowed it. But
I
I'm
caught
very
him there.
careful, I don't hit anything.
Pauline, I caught him. I caught him.
No,
No,
not me.
He's probably not the one that's done it. People, it's been there for 20 years.
well, we'll look into the plantings in the basins, and we'll look into this, ma'am.
That
Problem
would
is
be
then
nice, thank you.
You do, I mean, they do get complaints when it's not mowed and it's overgrown, and there's really not many options you can do to go up there and get that all trimmed down there unless you drive up there and mow it. We don't have any machines that can reach out that far or anything like that, so, but we
But
try to maintain.
if they're not in control, I mean, it's, how can I put it? It's easy to mistakenly taking things down when you're using a machine that's
Well,
not
we gotta be
intended
more
for
careful
it.
then.
Take them all
Okay.
down.
Yep.
I swear those ashes are gonna get there quicker than I thought.
I can't help myself. I want to enjoy this. This is my last budget. I want to enjoy myself.
Well, hopefully I'm adding to your enjoyment.
Yeah.
Oh, good. Next item is our, replace the flail head on one of our tractors. The flail head is on our roadside mower, the tractor. It goes out, it's articulated, it can go to different slopes, and it goes around the bushes and everything on the berms. The one we have now is what, 17 years old, Frank? 17 years old. It's failing a lot more, it's taking a lot more time to repair.
It's a failed head.
So we're looking to get a new flail head.
Now it's a failed head, right? It's not a flail head no more.
Close, very close. Our priority 6, the sign printer that we have right now is 17 years old, and while that might not sound old, computer-driven, and if you're talking about using computers that are 17 years old, it's kind of scary. The new machines can do multiple colors, a lot less time and labor is involved, so we can do a lot more signage, a lot quicker.
Is this printer all in? Is that including software,
Yes,
training?
yes. Of course, materials are consumable, and we'd be
Yes.
going through materials, but everything else, yes.
So this is to purchase it outright?
Yes, ma'am.
And we need signage all over town, we know that.
Yes. The next one, replace traffic control devices. We're now entering building and grounds, I'm sorry. Our first priority is replace traffic control devices. This is to replace the old lighted school zone signs with solar LEDs, be energy efficient. And I'm glad to tell you that we just received a $10,000 grant for this, so that'll help. How much were the signs, do you remember?
They're about $5,000 each.
Well, you're asking for 60,000.
Right,
Well,
60,000.
there's 4 of those, and then we have the curve ahead signs.
2 lighted
The
curve
blinking
ahead.
lights.
Where's our stop signs?
That's a different,
I'm actually working on that.
that's
I
a
know.
different thing with the police. What we're looking at for here is, like Brian said, the schools, 4 signs total, 2 lighted curve ahead on Friendship Road, and then replacing the blinking light at Fort Plain and Hols's Corner. So instead of the 60,000, we'll be looking for 50,000 from the town.
Chance of more grants next year coming in for the same thing or no?
I don't know, that was a Sustainable New Jersey grant that we got.
And the blinking light needs to be updated. We'll go to an LED on that also. We go out there all nights to change that, the bulb in that. So it'll cut down on overtime going out there in the middle of the night and changing it out too.
Okay.
The sustainable green was from the green team? That was were they part of that, or this was something different?
I think that I inherited it. I finished up the application and submitted it. The green team was included.
Very good.
This is also with the Safe Routes to School
Oh, yeah?
program.
The next one, our priority 2, I apologize, it says replace failed windows at DPW. It's not a DPW, it's a town hall. In the front of the building here, we have a few failed windows. They've lost their seal. You can see on the picture on the right, they're fogged over. They lose their energy efficient, they're leaking. We'd like to replace those. I'm trying to, was it 12 total?
Yes, I believe it was 12.
12 total.
This is crazy.
12 windows lost the seal?
This is in the
Yes,
that
ma'am.
I'm talking about. Where do we get $5 million? They had all these things up for us. How many
Okay.
failed windows have
Next.
we replaced?
On the next page, priority 3, town hall vestibule. Every time you open a door, you lose the heating or the cooling. Depending upon the wind, it can be pretty drastic. We'd like to put a vestibule in there that'll help control the environmental changes. It'll save us energy in the long run. We're looking at $20,000 design roughly and $80,000 in construction roughly.
But you have 2 areas where these doors are, so.
No, ma'am, the ones in the back and the one in
Already
the
have.
back and the 2 on the side already have a vestibule. The only one in the front has a direct single door into the controlled space.
And it's where most people come in and out of, and it's just, as soon as those doors open,
Sure.
everything's right out.
Well, sometimes it's a good thing.
Yeah.
You in on this, Mr. Harmon?
I am.
Priority 4 is something I hope you'll really like. This is a town hall message sign. We're going to put it out in front of this building on Route 9. Just had a quick graphic representation provided, but if you look on the right, which is Howell Township Municipal Building, right below it is going to be an electronic sign that can be controlled by the computer in the office. So when we have something come up, it could be any kind of a
Easter in
notification.
the park or something like that.
Easter in the park or an emergency notification, we can change it right then and there. And what better place to have it but right on Route 9 in front of the building?
If I may, I'm not saying that this isn't a good idea at 40,000, may well be money
Yeah.
well spent. However, I would like to see something actually right by the entrance, the actual roadways into this building, to let people know where the road is. It's very dark. There's a telephone pole there. I have seen a couple of almost good collisions there, people slamming on the brakes to come in. It's very dark, it's not lit, you don't know really where the road coming in. The median, that little median between, maybe it could be painted to reflect light. I don't know what the answer is, but what we
Jim,
have
you
out there
wanna look
now
and see
is
what-
not it.
I'll work with Jim in seeing what kind of improvements we can do out there, and whether we do it in-house or contract, but I'm sure we can come up with some way to improve it.
Why don't we just take the sign from Soldier Memorial Park? It's not really used, it's not needed, people hate it. It's distracting when you're driving down the road, as this will be Route 9. I just close my eyes, never see anything with all these lousy signs, but
Utilize the Soldier Memorial.
we
Is
already
that a
own that, and
possibility?
it's not used.
We have to look into that.
I don't know what the relocation cost would be. I'm sure there'll be a,
It'll be
There'll be
something, it would be
cost to that.
something.
Yeah.
Find out if it's plausible.
okay. Next priority, we mentioned this briefly last time, the DPW bathroom repairs. And Mayor, sorry I didn't paint a clear picture last time, but hopefully this shows you a little bit better. If you look on the left, that's the existing ladies' locker room. That's what they used when they had a female apply.
That's some nice wood paneling. You can't get wood paneling like that anymore.
It is 1970 vintage.
I believe we had that downstairs.
I think it's gunstock brown, if I remember correctly. The next one shows just a couple pictures of the bathroom, and the picture on the right shows the shower room. The existing bathroom, once again, is not co-located to the locker room. The bathroom I propose is going to be next to the locker room, so the men can go from the locker room to the shower room and back, and then
I have a
this...
question. Last year you did the locker room. Why didn't you put the locker room so that it would be conducive to the bathroom, and then you wouldn't have to do this?
No, ma'am, I didn't build a locker room. The money I asked for was for upgrading the locker room, the locker room and the break room. That's primarily lockers, benches,
Okay,
chairs, and furniture. And
Answered my
we're going to
question.
we're going to move some walls within our break room area to enlarge our break room, because we don't have enough area for all the guys. So, I'm sorry if I added any
don't be
confusion to
sorry,
that.
it's okay.
But,
Probably my fault.
Yeah, and the locker room is actually on the other side of the hallway from
I
the
see.
shower. So you would have to leave the shower room, walk down the hallway,
I
and
get
then
it
into the
now.
locker room.
And if you've seen some of my guys, it's not a pretty sight.
I probably wouldn't notice.
Next one,
She notices that sign on Soldier Memorial.
our next
Yeah, I
priority is, we're looking for some money to convert
Yeah.
some of our older lighting technology to LED. And Brian spearheaded some of the work. I'm going to let you take this one, Brian.
We've already done Soldier Field, the whole parking lot lighting, converted it to LED. No more ballasts. These are more energy efficient. Change out bulbs, no ballast needed. It's incredible. We've done, all the wall packs around the DPW building right now. It's been a lot brighter when we're out here doing the snow plowing and whatnot. We've done bollards in front of PD and some other lighting at the seniors. This we're looking to do more, actually, we just did the LEDs in the jail cells. There was a problem with, they're having an issue with lighting in there. They're gonna have to do some upgrades to the PD jail cells eventually, but we added LEDs in there and it brightened up the cells a lot more. So we're looking to do more LED lighting throughout the town. It just saves money and it's less time with us changing out the ballast and the bulbs at the same time.
You're doing this all in-house?
Yes.
But it's not 50,000 just buying bulbs, which is because you might need new fixtures,
Right
Take
now,
LED, you might have to modify some of these
a
fixtures.
lot of the fixtures, I mean, we're getting direct replacement bulbs for them. You're actually taking the old fixture, removing the ballast and the old bulb, and these new light bulbs are coming out they're coming out constantly, are just going right in there, retrofitting perfectly into these old fixtures. We haven't bought a new fixture yet for these bulbs.
The only new fixtures we got was down in the garage. We replaced those little hi-hats that had a cone of light about this big with the LED panels. And you see the results we had there, in addition to cutting the energy probably 60, 70%.
It does do that, but they fib when they talk about the life expectancy, because we, unfortunately
Yes.
for me, because I don't like them, have all changed all the ones in our house, and they cost a fortune per bulb, and they're supposed to last so many,
10 years.
Well, even,
and they don't last
even you take
anywhere
like
near.
Soldier Field where we replaced like a metal halide light, that bulb was $75, and then the ballast was another $150. So every time you were going out there to do that, then it was manpower. You were spending probably 45 minutes to an hour working in this little thing off a bucket truck.
45 minutes to an hour to change the light bulb.
I'm
Help
being
me,
honest
man.
with you. You're
ballast.
replacing the ballast.
Problem.
You're getting into the fixture, replacing the whole ballast, installing a new ballast and a bulb. It just didn't make sense. I mean, these LEDs just make sense.
And they are coming down in cost.
That's good.
Yes.
Well, that's the tough thing when we authorize money for something like this, that we know as time goes on, it comes down further and further in cost.
Yes, it does. Oh, yeah, 2 years from now, it's going to be a lot less than it is now.
So, but your ask goes for 50,000, which may be 20 in 2 years.
Could be.
But how much are we going to spend between now and then replacing?
What's that?
the ones we-
There's also
Listen, I'm not
savings to your
saying-
energy costs
And
over
your
the 2
man
years.
hours?
There is.
Using these
And
lights.
man hours.
Yeah.
It
So
is.
the return on the investment, listen, I
Any-
just did my business and I know we've,
Yeah,
How did this-
it did lower. our
Rob,
electric
how are
bill
your
quite a
costs
bit.
coming down on your electric?
they have calmed down,
Yeah, ours have too.
I'll be honest, a couple of bulbs, LEDs that we put in, they lasted a couple of weeks. We brought them right back. They gave us brand new ones. I mean, they took them right back. They are warrantying them, and they're standing by it. So, and that was only
Sustainable.
2 out of all the ones we did.
Are there still grants available for this? I know a
There
couple
are
years ago.
grants available
yeah.
for that. Actually, the Buildings and Grounds Foreman has been looking into the grants for these.
Because there might even be something, on a very, almost a yearly basis for the first 5 to 10 years.
And that's something we were talking to the Green Team about also.
Yeah.
so his proposal is 1.4.
Yep.
Did you make any adjustments, Brian, since then?
Sorry. In consultation with DPW, they did remove several items from their capital.
Can we go over them, just so we know?
Yes, I looked at having a line item for slip lining some of our existing storm drains. We really haven't had a chance to develop a project on that. The advantage of slip lining a pipe, we have a lot of storm drains that are failing. The lift holes or the joints are failing, so we're getting a series of potholes or sinkholes. With the slip lining, you can go in and fix the pipe without opening up the road. It's good for busy roads and high-traffic areas.
But that's been removed already?
Yes, sir.
So
Out of this 1.4, what's been removed?
Nothing.
Nothing?
Yes.
Yeah, Brian said yes.
The items that have been removed are the slip line storm drains, there's a remote mower with a trailer that was requested, flatbed tow truck.
No, but
It
Brian, on the
But
list,
that's,
on
that's,
the
is that
last
on this
page,
list?
Yes.
Look at the summary sheets.
on the last page of the sheets that Lou did.
What has been cut, your total now is that 1.4 number.
That's what I'm asking.
That's what it is. So it's
So from the
currently
1.4, there's nothing additional cut from the 1.4?
Correct.
Okay.
How many times you gotta ask? God.
I kind of like what I'm hearing out of that department. A lot of innovative thinking, proactively going after grants, looking towards the future. I like some of what I'm hearing here.
Thank you.
I do have a concern. I know that we desperately need aerial bucket trucks, so I don't dispute that at all. How much is being trimmed off? I certainly dispute. I just wish we could be much more aggressive in what we're taking off of the trees. I mean, you could actually go every year around the town, every tree,
Yes, you
every
could.
street. It's absurd.
Yep.
You know, you'd have to, have about 40 hours more per day for the next year to achieve this. So maybe if we could be more aggressive in the trimming.
Well,
'Cause
by
I will say that I don't think you can do
No.
anything to kill a locust tree. I mean, I can push them all over with my hands, pretty much, because there's no root system, but, I mean, these trees.
But
in
they
Howell
all aren't
Township-
locust trees,
Yeah.
and they're trees that are being destroyed because there's too much taken off. It's not like thought isn't given to what's good for the tree, it just gets rid of it.
Well,
I don't,
you know what?
if you're talking about more aggressive, just chopping down without any thought,
Well, no, I'm not suggesting without thought. I'm just thinking that if every year we have the same amount of growth going over the road or through the wires, it seems to me that we're not doing as much as we need to do. I mean, every 6 months, you can actually go back and do some
Part of the
trees.
training of the licensed tree care operator, he knows what he can and cannot trim, the
Right.
extents he can and cannot trim to keep the trees healthy and viable, which is the ultimate goal. There are some trees, we'll be working with the Shade Tree Commission this year on doing an inventory on all our ash trees due to the emerald ash
yeah.
borer. Sorry to say it, but they're going to be going. It's probably better to cut them down before they die and break.
And
It's probably
fall.
safer for the people. So the Shade Tree Commission will be, as part of our forestry plan, we'll be doing an inventory on all our ash trees this year with an estimate to remove them.
I mean, I have a real concern over trees growing over the roads and the safety. You
Yes,
know,
ma'am,
the
and
trees
whenever
are
we
coming
get-
down, and I only say this because I actually saw it in front of my own house.
Mm-hmm.
A limb came down about 2 feet before the moving car. So if the woman had been going another few miles an hour faster, that'd be one less resident paying property taxes in Howell.
I had a buddy lose an eye on Brinker
Yeah.
Hall for Freehold Borough in a storm about 5 years ago.
Very,
Limb came down while he was driving. Right
Well,
through the
we do
windshield.
have a
That's-
hazardous tree contract, and we do utilize that with the one bucket truck, and we've been trying to keep up. The second bucket truck and upgrades will help us keep doing it. But like I said, we've got a lot of trees in this town.
Yeah, we could have one bucket truck just assigned to complaints, just
You could have
nonstop,
5
and then
bucket
one
trucks
just
out there
doing,
every day,
you could,
yeah.
and then
Yeah.
have one just
I know.
continually trimming back roads, not every day.
And we have these old lines, we have these old telephone poles with these lines that the trees
Yep.
are growing into, and that's another hat,
Other than killing the tree, as aggressive as we could possibly be,
Yep.
I urge them to be. It is a serious, the trees are offensive in some cases.
Saw them down.
I just have a question. So out of the 1.4, you said the bucket truck, you could get a grant for that?
Yes,
You have the shade tree.
No, I did a trust
I
fund.
think, you
Yeah.
want 2 sheets on
And a
grants?
shade tree
still has
trust
to go
fund.
into our budget.
I'm just,
That was what, over 200,000, right?
it was 220.
220.
And then the mowers, you said that you could get that from the Basin Trust Fund?
Basin truck, yes.
Yes.
So they're a help, basically.
We're just funding it in a different way.
And then you said that you could get the 50,000 out from the light conversion, the,
No, ma'am,
Well, they're
I'll
looking
get
for
10,000
grants
for
for
the
that.
grant, and then 50,000.
so, okay, it goes down to 40,000 instead of 50.
No,
No,
50
but
from 60.
We asked for,
Conversion to LED says
oh,
50,000.
that. No, the replaced traffic control lighting is where we
Oh,
got
the
the
traffic
grant.
control
Yes,
lighting,
ma'am.
okay.
For the one over Fort Plains, you said?
Yes, sir.
On Fort
Long
Plains.
road, jeez.
That's kind of,
Yeah, Hulse's Corner there.
So that brings that,
It's low, it needs a whole rework.
And you have a grant for that.
We had $10,000 was put towards that, yes. That was for the
so it
curb
goes down
lighting,
to
the four-way
1.1.
stop.
That's the
You
question
know,
I want to
altogether
ask.
with the school lighting also.
So does that bring that specific budget then to 1.1?
Effectively, the portion of his, but it's capital appropriations, but what we would go out to bond for would effectively be 1.1 million. That would need to be funded through
That's a lot of
those
money.
means.
What?
It's a lot of money.
It's a lot of money, you're right.
Oh.
I agree.
Well, I just, off the top of my head, I don't support the vestibule installation and the new message board right now, but I'm one vote.
I agree.
We can live without the message board, I agree with it.
Totally.
Councilwoman O'Donnell, though, to do something to improve the entrance into this building.
I
Whether
just-
it's lightening it up a little bit, changing it a little bit.
The
'Cause
lighting?
we know it's there, a lot of people.
Oh, you're talking
don't.
about the entrance?
Yes.
But I'm just talking about the vestibule. I agree. That entrance is,
But I think that's a cheap fix.
yeah.
Agreed.
Reflector.
Would
I
the
agree.
council be willing to entertain having a study done for the vestibule to get some hard numbers on what our energy savings would be and what an actual construction cost would be?
You've had some pretty aggressive, listen, maybe in time,
Okay.
in my opinion, just that we've done some pretty
Can't
aggressive projects over the last couple of years. We did the fuel tanks, we did police department building, we did the OEM building,
Senior
We've done a lot, we've spent a lot. Maybe when we get our tenants back up, that's my opinion.
I would agree with you.
I agree. The difference between a wants list and a needs list.
Yeah.
See, the sign's a want list, not a need list,
Thank you.
okay?
And all the things that I think you brought
How many
forward have
times have I
merit.
stood in front of you and
Oh, yeah, they have merit, but
Councilwoman Smith, me and you are almost always on the same page.
So I have another question. The bathrooms.
Yes, ma'am.
So do we have to redo all the bathrooms?
There's
I mean, is there,
no bathroom there. It's, what we have is, it's in the inside of the garage.
yeah, but you're going to put in a female locker room, a men's shower
Right now, the
locker
area
room?
that the men's bathroom is, we're going to convert that to a ladies' locker room.
So call me crazy, but the question I have is, couldn't the men use the police department's bathrooms if they needed to shower?
No,
different buildings.
It's in a different building.
Okay, so,
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Oh, no, ma'am, I'm sorry.
hold on. That's something-
$300,000. I mean, let's ask the question.
No, I don't disagree if you don't want to spend the money, but no, the PD's letting nobody else in there to use their showers.
And once again, that is a different building. I'm trying to make it so after the guys pulled a 16-hour shift, doing
No, I
snow removal-
understand the purpose of it. I totally get that.
Do we need
Yeah,
the
I have a
legal
hard time on
obligation for a
$300,000.
unisex bathroom?
It's a lot of
No,
money.
I did notice the hose
What's
on the
a
bottom of the
unisex
picture
bathroom?
that you're using the hose off right
I mean,
now,
I don't understand.
okay? I did notice the hose there.
Well, could we have,
So what about, Councilwoman O'Donnell just made a point, and I think we need to, put it out there. Why couldn't it be one bathroom? Does it really matter if, if different sexes use the shower at different times?
I mean, I'm suggesting a unisex bathroom. Would that meet the governmental standards, the regs?
I don't think so due to the amount of people we have in there.
Not in
Yeah.
America. In France,
45,
Come on, we're in 2018.
Yeah. You think that, I don't know this, that's.
we have about
you know.
45 people that operate out of that building. And to have a
How often does that occur?
couple times a day. We have our morning muster, guys come in for lunch, then we have an after, everybody gets together at the end of the day, they do fill out their paperwork and everything, so that's when we have pretty much everybody there.
So they shower
No,
every day?
no.
Well,
No, I should say that, I don't know if they shower every day, I hope
I
they
mean,
do
at
there.
the building? That's too much personal
No, it's not
information.
used
Paul.
every day. Yeah.
So how often is it used? Just
It's
asking.
probably not used near what it should be because.
So it's
of
probably
the-
used mostly during a storm, I would say?
Yeah, definitely.
Snowstorm,
Storm,
bad
because-
Long
hurricane.
shifts, yeah.
But if a guy's out there working in the mud, doing storm drain repair and wants to come
Right.
in and take a shower, right now, it's not conducive to that.
it needs to be upgraded. I just have a hard time with the $300,000
Well,
cost.
That was a parametric estimate, we just tried to figure out what it would cost. Would we be able to get money to do a study for that, an engineering study? to
Well,
see what it
couldn't
would
Jim
cost?
do that? I mean,
That's where the other engineer will really help us.
well, we currently have Jim right now. Jim, couldn't you do that?
Jim is busy.
Well, he's the assistant
lot of stuff
manager.
going on.
He's the head of community development.
I'm working on a striping plan right now for the entire
What
town.
about every other
So
Friday for
I
a
think
half
this is,
hour?
this is a good, easy one for you.
Yeah, I don't think a bathroom would be very difficult either. I'm
Have
with
you
the mayor.
eyeballed this place, Jim, yourself? You've seen it, correct?
I've seen it. I haven't been really involved in this a lot.
Yeah.
You haven't showered there?
I have not. Part of the
I've
problem
been
over
seeing
there
Brian.
is they're actually kind of
Have you
limited
seen it?
from showering because of the septic system. So the
that's
septic
right.
system is backing up. We had
forgot
the
about
pump
that.
switched out last week. We're this close to having a brand-new septic system done finally, which will obviously improve that. We've had it pumped out, twice in January alone? Because it's failing so badly. So we've actually limited the guys from showering because
Right,
it
no.
backs up into the shower.
I
You don't want to be
forgot
standing
that,
in
yeah.
3 inches of septic water. So it needs some work.
It's just the way, it does need work, and also the layout, it just doesn't make any sense. It's
Well,
it's
it's an
very
old-
strange.
Yeah.
Old
You would
layout.
take a shower and then walk down the hall into another room
Yeah.
with your towel on. I mean, I know it's not a big deal, but it is open to the public, that area. I mean, there's offices there.
Really?
We also hired architects this year. If you remember, we put architects on our consultant list just for little projects like this where we could say, hey, let me get $7,500 or $10,000 and have them do a couple, like 3 sketches and alternatives and cost estimates. And then we take that back to you and say, here's what it is. We can do $100,000, $200,000, or $500,000. What do you want to do? That's why we put them on there, just for little items like this.
I hate to spend the money for that, but I think that this might be money well spent in this situation because we seem to be pretty far apart in our thinking as to what would be appropriate and what we should do.
In reality, it's a
So-
small number compared to a total
I
overall.
know,
Before you
I know.
commit to a number like $300,000,
Yes,
you could spend, let's say, $7,500 to $10,000 and get a scope of magnitude for real, for people that do this every day. And then
I
you could
think-
come
Well, I
back to
think what you
you.
heard from the 5 of us
I
is
think
we're
we
not
should do
committing
that.
to a number of $300,000.
So maybe
I
we
think
should
we all
do
heard that.
this.
But find out how we can upgrade this with a lesser dollar option.
I think the
We could work on that.
$7,500 well spent
DIY,
in
maybe?
this
You could
case.
do it yourself.
Get one of those TV shows over here.
I saw a nice shower at the Home Depot the
I
other night.
mean, I do agree, and I've been there, it does need to be upgraded.
Yeah, right? These will come from Texas?
So,
$300,000 is,
so how, could we put this together then? Get somebody in here, take a look, let's get some real numbers.
What do you want to buy, next week?
Oh,
You good?
that'd be
I'll give you,
nice.
well,
Till the
it's
6th?
gotta be passed in April, so.
You want to do it till May, March 6th?
The
I'll have it by
next,
then?
the next meeting, what can you do for me, Jim?
Yeah, okay.
listen, if you want to include it in the budget, we're gonna need to have a little bit of better, because if we don't have a better understanding, I can pretty much tell you the answer's gonna be zeros going into that line item.
So if we
in
can
the
get
budget.
this information and, so we can look at it, really seriously and know what we're doing,
Yeah, we'll definitely work on it.
okay?
Yeah.
That's my thinking.
So where are we?
So are we doing that in-house?
So we
or
haven't
we
agreed
getting-
to anything.
We'll talk.
It's a lot of
Okay.
money, so I think we really need to take another look at the,
I have no problem with the mowers and stuff like that, you need them. I mean, and I know how less the complaints are today than where they were. And that's, that's to the job you're doing. I think the manager, the head of community development, I think overall, it's night and day compared to where it was 10, 12 years ago. So all of you deserve some credit for that. And then we've been trying to do the best we can to equip you with more machinery over the last 4 or 5 years.
And notwithstanding the fact, Paul, that, this is like the first full year, I mean, you've really taken on some projects that are commendable, and gotten a good view of what hasn't been done, what we need to do, and how can we move along in the future, and do the best thing for the town. So, I mean, I think you're really, you hit the road running for a town this size, so,
I didn't have
for
much
that,
of a
we
choice,
thank
thank
you.
Like the Lone Ranger. Whoa.
Well, a lot needs to be
and
done.
do you have to have 2 of the big trucks? You can't get 1 truck?
What we're trying to do is keep the fleet at a relatively useful life. Just like Jim said, you project out 2 a year. If we get one, we get one, but
It's gonna help us brine quicker, it's gonna get it out there.
I hear you.
Yeah.
I get the purpose.
We get a few major snowstorms, Mayor, and you hear the people complaining how slow.
Look,
Yeah.
you're gonna hear people complain about the snow or about the $400,000, so you're gonna hear them complain either way, so I think, you know.
I know. No, not from back there.
If you,
Tell them, not from back there. I can't hear you. I'm getting old,
what were you gonna say, Rob?
getting chubby, I'm tired.
Right, I mean,
Yeah, right there. The trucks that we have, the newest trucks that we have, besides for the two that we just received, are 2008s. That's the newest ones in our entire fleet as far as the big trucks go. They're 10 years old. That's their life expectancy. We're currently trying to...
I'm sorry. Say that again?
The...
We've approved trucks in the past.
Yes, we
Yeah, oh,
have.
yes.
We didn't take possession of them?
No, what happened is there was money budgeted. in
But they never
previous-
ordered them.
They never ordered them. And since Paul Novello came on, we found that money in years past accounts, and we got them ordered now. They're coming in.
Well, what
How many new
trucks? Saying,
I
we
remember that
budgeted
information.
all these things and you haven't bought them. How bad did you really need them?
Right, correct.
There was money in 2014 we approved for one of these trucks that you just got. Why did we budget it for in 2014 when obviously it wasn't needed and the work got done without it?
And believe me, and as the chief mechanic, when, going in years past, I would tell the current director that we needed to get these trucks ordered. I don't know why they never got ordered. I don't know. But thank goodness that you didn't pull the money out, so we were able to get them. But we currently are using for snow removal, as far as the big trucks go, 2 of them are 2001,
A vintage year.
3 of them are 2002, 2 of them are 2003, 3 of them are 2005, 1 is a 2007, and 3 of them are 2008s. So what happens is, when you have a snowstorm, when you need them the most, that's when they're breaking, and that's when they're returning to the shop, or we're sending mechanics out to try to keep them pieced together. So that's why I'm saying, we really need the 2 big trucks. And then what we could do is, when we get caught up, is go to 1 truck a year. But right now, we're so far behind with these trucks, it's very, very difficult. Plus, the parts are becoming obsolete. We have a truck right now we're trying to find a radiator for, and it's a 2004.
Well, the welder will help you with that.
I just want to let you know the condition of our snow, and that's very important to the residents, the snow plowing. And with the fleet that we have, it's really old, and it's really, and it takes a toll on them, the snow plowing.
Yeah,
And the reason why I
certainly
pull
does.
out so many vehicles is because of safety reasons, the calcium chloride and the salt, it does havoc on the undercarriages of the trucks, havoc.
That's one of the reasons we got the hot seat washer, so we can help better maintain the frames.
A lot, regenerate them.
Well, I noticed the pictures that you showed of the truck, that undercarriage should never look like that with all that salt piled up under that.
Plus, we have 6 trucks that the state of New Jersey came in about 6 years ago and made us put DEF systems on. It's to burn off carbon, and the systems that they gave us, they have to be regened every once in a while. And when the light comes on with their system, and we're not allowed to take them off, it's illegal, it takes 4 hours. So if I have a truck come in that needs a regen, during a snowstorm, that truck is down for 4 hours, because that's how long it takes to
It will go
regen.
into limp mode if you don't.
Yeah,
Right.
It's gonna
It'll
go
a certain amount of time, once it hits that point, before it'll only do like 2
3 miles an hour.
It's like the golf cart when you get too close to the green at the country club. It does.
I'm good.
They got them down so they go down to a crawl,
I should have brought up.
so you can't drive on the green.
Take a minute.
Golf carts.
Go ahead, just go ahead.
But I
You
just
need a
want to
green
know,
with the 30 feet?
to let you know the
Stop.
condition, before you cut a truck, the condition of our fleet for snow plowing.
Thank
The smaller
you.
trucks are fine. The smaller trucks, we got 2012s, 2014s. We're fine with the smaller trucks, but the big ones, we need to get on.
Again, we have to just take a look at that again,
Thank you very
We'll
much.
consider it. I have 2 things that I should have mentioned before under Jim's. I wanted to make sure that in the budget for the Lake Restoration Committee, they're very concerned about restocking Aldrich Lake after it's been, is there money in the budget for that?
No, there's not, because the DEP is the one who mandates the fish removal and stocking. So before we dredged the lake, before we drained it, we actually we shocked all the fish, took them out and dumped them in the Manasquan Reservoir at their direction. We are also being told that in a similar fashion, the next lake that they get, once we're done with our dredging, that comes up to be dredging, say a lake in Jackson is up to be dredged next, they'll take the fish from there and they'll put them in our lake.
They're recycled.
And they actually do, and that's all at DEP's direction.
Recycled fish.
They do, they really do.
As long as it's done, that's their
Correct.
concern, my concern.
I mean, we're putting it in there so it's a healthier lake.
Just let them know
We're putting the
that.
dock in, it's all for fishing, or,
Right.
part of it's for fishing, so we definitely want a
Well,
fish population.
That's true, but in order to keep the lake alive, it needs,
Yeah, keep it
Correct.
healthy.
Could people eat those fish?
Sure, why not?
yes.
Oh, yeah.
Recycled fish?
Manasquan Rivers.
People catch some big bass.
What else is it?
The other thing is, and this is more for us, I guess, what are we going to do about the Environmental Commission and getting some secretarial help for them? They really do need it. I would like to see it go back. They had a secretary for all the years until a couple of years ago, the then manager came up with a new system. And I think for a small stipend, one of the girls in the office, and it was done very well all the time.
I
until
think the
recently.
change was when McKenna left, the executive assistant took on the extra work. But I know that I've spoken to Brian about this, so he's going to meet with the chairperson of the committee and see what the needs actually are, and then he's going to
Well,
work
my
with that.
suggestion was to control it. If there was an agreement made, set down by the manager of what exactly was to be done and nothing further.
We actually would record the meeting, and then that recording would go to.
I believe one of
yeah.
the members takes
Yeah,
minutes
yeah.
of the
Yeah.
meeting currently.
But
But,
there's
yeah.
certain letters that go out, the
Yeah.
reports that
That's
go
true.
to the boards.
Mm-hmm.
Statutorily, they have to do.
So
Somebody
Brian, you're
just to
handling
type
this?
those up.
Yes, he is.
So Brian's handling
He's
this?
the manager, he handles everything.
All right,
Okay, as long
So
as
we're
that's
good.
taken care of, you don't need something from us.
perfect.
Otherwise,
I will accept a motion to end the meeting.
We've got to open to
So
public.
so moved.
Thank you.
We'll take
Thank you.
everything into consideration.
Oh,
You'll
I'm
open to
so
the
sorry.
public.
I'd like to open the meeting to the public, please. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thanks, Paul.
I just know the other committee is here to meet. I'm trying to
Yep.
change my seat.
Hi, Sandra Sally, Birdsall Road, Farmingdale. I wanted to ask a question if the DPW coordinates with the Jersey Central Power and Light about the roads that are being trimmed by Jersey Central Power and Light, because they're doing Birdsall Road, they're doing Casino, they're doing a couple of, as I go to work, I see these trucks. And I saw one down a long driveway, like a private road, and I don't know why they were in there trimming the trees.
Because it's a line there.
Yeah.
But it's not a private road.
It
I mean, it's
doesn't
not a
matter
public
about the
road.
road, it's the lines they take care of.
But the question is, do they coordinate with JCP now? The answer is
Yes.
yes. Paul is saying.
They do?
JCP&L sends us and all other towns in Monmouth County, when they're doing a tree trimming project, they give us a notice of which trees they're going to be doing.
Oh, that's good, because, I mean, I know what they're talking about when the way they trim the trees, they like cut out the center, and then they got this big branch hanging out over
They
the road.
destroy them.
But it's like so dangerous to have that big limb hanging out over the
And
road.
the ice comes on them when you're waiting for it to fall.
Yeah, I wish they would stop doing that. Anyway, thank you.
Thank you very much. Now, ma'am, entertain a motion.
Is
Oh,
somebody
I'm
else?
so sorry.
30 seconds.
No, but, okay, no worries, no worries.
I'm Jerry Barron of 37th and LOA. I just wanted to thank all of you for okaying putting in for a grant for a new ERI. I talked to most of you the other night, but thank you for putting in for matching funds or whatever. That's all I want to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're doing a good job.
Thank you.
May I have a motion to end the
Motion
meeting?
to adjourn.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Now, we have to get out.
Mrs. O'Donnell?
Yes.
Mrs. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Walsh?
No, I'm having a good time.
Mr. Castro?
Over.
Mr. Castro?
Yes.
Mayor Berger?
Yes, ma'am.
4-1.
Meeting adjourned,
On the record, I want
6:50.
everybody to know I wanted to stick around.